Hello guys, welcome back to Modern Web. Today we will continue our MERN blogging website and build some more pages on top of what we already have. This is part 5 of MERN blogging website. So if you haven't watched the last parts, I highly recommend you go and watch those parts before watching this one. You can find the playlist link in the description or comments. If you are following this series, you know that this video is delayed, and because of that it is not the full part, and there will be part 6 which will be uploaded within a week. If you want full source code which include every features even before I create their parts, you can download the full project source code from Patreon or buy my coffee. Link is in the description. Okay, so before starting or working on the settings page, let's work on our comments first, where we have to load the replies, because you remember in the last part I didn't code the replies pagination. So let's do that over here. So what we have to do is, first of all, let's just open any blog right now, and let me just quickly add some comments over here, and you will see that it is asking me to log in first. So let me do that quickly. And let me again open one blog, and let's add some comments over here. So I will just say 01, and I will add another comment with 02, and I will add 6 replies to this so that I can add pagination after 5th reply. So let's just add 6 replies to it. So I will say 03, and then 04, 05, 06, 07, and 08. So you will see that I have added 6 replies. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so after refreshing the website, you will see that the total number of comments in this blog is 8. And if I click over here, I will get these 2 comments, 1 and 2, because they are parent comments. And inside this 2, you will see that I have 6 replies. But if I click on it, it should give me only 5 replies. So if I see how many replies I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And why I'm getting 6 instead of 5? And this is because in the last part where we are fetching the replies from this get reply route inside our server.js, we messed up and we made a mistake. In the populate method, you will see that we have provided this option over here, which is setting the max limit and setting the skip amount of the document and sorting the document according to this commented at field. But the issue is we have given the key as option, but instead of that you have to pass options as a key, because in MongoDB there is no option key, there is options key which include these 3 keys, and then only it will run the limit, skip, and sort method on the populate. So if I do that now, and if I refresh, and if I click on the comments, and now let's load the reply, and I should get only 5 replies. And now you will see that instead of getting the first reply as 03, I got 08, because 08 was the latest comment on this parent comment. And if I just go down, you will see that there is no 03 comment, because that is the 6th comment. So what I want now is I want to add a load more reply button over here, so that user can click on that to load the next 5 replies. So how can I do that? So first of all, let's go to this comment card.component.jsx, where we are creating the comments. And after this is replying, or actually after this whole div, let me add one component, and we will call this load more replies button. And we don't have this component, that's why it is giving this red underline. So just copy this component name, and what I will do is I will go at the top just before the return, and over here I will create this component. So I will say const, paste the name, and I will create this as a functional component like this. And basically this will, for now, will return a button like this. And let's just type over here load replies, load more replies, and if I just save, this should render the button. And you will see, since I have added this load more replies in this comment card, and it is just returning this button, I am getting this load more replies button in every comment card. But I don't want that, right? I want only this button to be at the last 2 on the last comment card, right? So how can I check whether or not this is the last comment card we are looking. So for that we will use, or we will add some condition. So let's see what are those conditions. So first of all, over here what I will do, I will make a variable saying let parent index, so that I can gather the information like if it is a reply, who is the parent of this reply, so that I can get the index of that parent. So again, if you don't remember, to get the parent of the current reply or comment, current comment, we have made this function which is get parent index. You just have to call this and this will give you the parent index. And once you get the parent index, what I will do is I will add a condition over here. I will say if, and then I will access the comments array. So I will say if comments array, and then in the square brackets I will say index plus 1, and this index, well, basically is this prop from this comment card, and this is basically the current comment index, and comments array is the whole comments data structure. So what I'm just checking is I'm just checking whether or not I have any other element after this comment, because if I don't have any other element after this comment, then I can't run the conditions that I am about to type, and then it will give me undefined, because then I don't have anything next to the current comment, so I won't be able to select that comment, right? So for now you understand, just type this and you will get a better understanding when I will write all of the conditions. So once we are inside this condition, which means we do have something after the current comment, then I will run another condition, and that condition will say comments array to check the whole comments array, and from there I will select the next item of that comment, and I will say dot children level, and this dot children level will give you the children level of this comment data. So basically the parent comments children level is 0, and then replies children level is 1, and if you like load replies to the replies, then the children level will get from 1 to 2. So we have different children level for different nested comments, and we can differentiate those comments using this children level, because if suppose this is the reply and this is the parent comment, let me just remove this so that this won't give any error. Let me save. So you will see that this is the reply and this is the parent comment, and since this is a parent comment, its children level will be 0, and since it is a reply, its children level will be 1. So you will see that this children level is greater than this. So basically by doing this condition, I can be sure that they are not same and there is a separation. This is a reply and this is a parent comment. We got that separation by calculating by checking the children level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncomment this, and I will just say is less than comment array of current index. Current index basically is the current comment data dot children level, and let me just enable my word wrap over here like this. So this is just basically telling if the children level is less than the current comment children level, which is basically this, because this last reply has a children level of 1 and this parent reply has a children level of 0, and 0 is less than 1, which means this condition will be true. But if you see for this 05 case, you will see that this 05 is also a reply and 04 is also a reply, so both will have a children level of 1, and in that case 1 is not less than 1, so we will not get inside this condition, and therefore we won't render this load more reply button. So what I will do here is I will just cut this and I will paste it over here. So if I just save it, and now you will see that I'm not getting the load more reply button in any comment except this fourth comment, because this and this parent comment has a separation of children level. So I hope you understood this much. So what I will do is I will add some classes to this button, so we can style it a little bit, and then we will add a onClick event which will load the other the next 5 comments. So let's add the class name first. So I will add some class names to give it a style, and what I will give is, let's say the tag should be text dark gray color, padding from all direction will be 2 units, and from X direction padding will be 3 units. And when we hover over the button, I will change the background to gray color with an opacity of 30%, and I will just give it a border radius a little bit, so I will give rounded MD, and I will say flex and then items to be center, so like this, and I will add a gap of 2. So if I just save, you won't see any big difference. It's just a simple styling, and if I hover over here, you will see a background. So now what I want is whenever I click on it, I should see the next 5 replies. So for that, of course, I need an on click event. So I will add on click over here, and whenever I will click, I will run a callback inside it, and where I will call load replies function. And you will see that we have already coded this load replies in the last part, which is basically loading the replies. But over here we have this prop which is skip. So basically what we have to do right now, calling whenever we will call this load reply on the click of this button, we will provide the skip amount here so that it can skip the loaded amount of replies, and then this can load the next replies, right? So how we can do that? Over here in the load replies, we have to do some calculations. So over here I will say skip, and in the skip I will say index minus parent index, because this index is the current reply on which you are clicking to load the next reply, and this parent index is the parent of this comment. So if obviously the difference between both of them will be the amount of how many replies are loaded, right? So if I just save that and come over here and click on the load more replies, okay, it didn't do anything. Let me see, is there any error? Let me just refresh it and let me expand this a bit. Let's see whether or not it is working. Okay, so it is not really working. Let's see why is that. Okay, so the reason it is not working is because of this condition over here, which is just saying children.length, and basically we are at this 04 comment, and since it doesn't have any sort of children, it doesn't have any length, and that's why it is not going inside this uh, condition and not fetching the comments. So how we can fix this? So first of all, we can't remove this children.length because we have added this to ensure that we will only make requests to the backend if and only if we have some replies in the parent comment. So we can't remove that, but we can modify it a little bit. So how can I do that? So first of all, I will just remove this, and after this skip, I will add one more key to this object prop is, and that I will say current index, and I will just basically set its equals to by default to be equal to index, right? And what I will say is current index will be by default the index of the current comment, and here instead of just saying children.length, I will say comments array, and from comments array I will select the current index. So basically by doing this, I am actually selecting the current comment, but I am selecting it this way so that while calling the load replies, I can pass the current index as the parent index, so that it will fulfill this condition and it will get inside this. So I will do this, and then what I will do is I will see whether or not I have this index used anywhere, because it will give any error. Yeah, over here instead of saying index, I will say current index plus 1 plus I and plus the skip amount. So just save that, and now if I come over here where I'm calling this load replies, and after giving the skip, I'll say current index equal, not equal, it should be colon, parent index. So by clicking on this button, it will behave as if you have clicked on the reply button, like show reply button of the parent comment, and then it will load the replies, accepting this as a data instead of accepting this 04 as a data. So now if I just save this and click on load reply, okay, you will see that it is not again working. It is saying hide reply and all those stuff. So let me just refresh it and let's see it still work or not. So if I click on load reply, okay, so it is still not working. I guess we have to do some more changes over here, then only it will work. Actually, yeah, instead of saying comment data dot is reply loaded, because this comment data is referring to the current comment, but we want to refer to this comment which will get from the current index. What I will do is I will just copy this and I will paste it instead of this comment data, and I will just save that And now if I refresh and load this, I should see the next reply, which is 03. So if I click over here, okay, nothing happened. And let me open my console for any errors. Let me click over here. Okay, nothing is happening. Let me console log the reply first, but let's see whether or not we are getting the reply. Okay, so you will see that in the reply I am getting an empty array, and that's why it is not rendering anything. So let's see why is this giving me an empty array, because it should give me the next comment, right? So what I will do is before sending the document, I will say console.log the doc over here in the server.js so that I can see it in the console. So if I just refresh it, now let's click on over here and let's load the replies. And if I come over here, I will get the 5 replies. Great. And now if I click on the load more reply, let's see what is giving. Okay, so it is giving me children with an empty array. And so after this, obviously it is not working again. So how can I fix that? Well, I have to do one more change over here, that and after doing that it won't return an empty array. And what is that is whenever I am making request, first of all let me enable my word wrap over here, and you will see making request to this root get reply, I am sending the id and the skip, and this underscore id is the id of the current comment. But remember, we have changed that current comment to this current index. So it doesn't matter, we are checking the current index like the parent index in the condition and here or here, but still the data that I am sending to retrieve the reply is this 04. I'm not sending this 02, the parent comment which has the reply. I'm sending this 04 which doesn't have any sort of reply, and that's why it is giving me an empty array. So instead of sending this underscore id, what I will say is I will say underscore id colon equals to comments array, and I will select the current index from the comments array, and then I will say dot underscore id. And if I save it now and click on load more reply, it should give me 03 this time. Okay, let me just refresh it. Okay, the server has stopped, so let me just restart the server again, and let me restart the server on the backend also, and let me just refresh it again. Let's load the 6 replies, and I am only getting the 5 replies. And if I click on load more reply, I should get 03. And if I click over here, now you will see that I got 03 as the another reply. But you will see that I'm still getting this load more reply button, but I don't have any sort of reply to load, right? If I click over here, I don't have any sort of reply in order to load it, but it's still giving me this button. So why is that? First of all, let me just remove this console, and let's just add one more condition which will check whether or not we have any sort of comments or replies left in order to load it, right? So what I will do is, before returning this, I will add one more condition over here, and that condition will basically say index minus parent index. Basically, index minus parent index will give you the length of how many documents are loaded. So like suppose the parent index is 0 and the current reply index is 6, which means this will be equals to 6, and this 6 will be the number of documents or replies loaded. So this will tell that 6 documents are loaded, and then we will check the total replies on the parent, and if it is greater than the loaded documents, then we will show this button. So after this, what I will say is less than comments array parent index to select the parent comment, and then I will say dot children to access its children, and I will say dot length to get the length of that children. So suppose if the parent has 8 replies, but I have only loaded 4, then it will be true, otherwise it won't be true. And inside this condition, I will return this button, and I will just paste it over here. Let me just add some formatting over here. So if I just save it now and just refresh it, go to my comments again and click on the 6 replies, and over here you will see that I have got the load more reply button because I have total number of comments over here. Total number of replies I have on this parent comment is 6, but only 5 I am rendering. And if I click on load more reply, I will get the third reply, the last sixth document of this parent comment, and now I won't see the load more reply button because I don't have anything left to load. And that's great. Now there is one more issue, and what is that? So first of all, let me just refresh it, and what I will do is I will add 6 replies to this 01 comment as well to show you the issue. So I will say 09 because the last reply we made on this was 08. So I will just use a numerical form over here, 010, like obviously not 010, 10, 11, 12, 13, and let's see how many are there. They are 5, so I need one more, so I will say 15, and I'll just hide it. So now if I just refresh and go to my comments, and now if I click on this 6 reply to load the 6 reply of this 01 comment, you will see I didn't got the load more reply button. And why is that? Because remember, the first condition we are checking is basically checking whether or not we have any item next to the current comment. And you will see that this 10th reply is the current comment where I want the load more button, but I don't have any sort of data after it. If I have the data, I would be able to see the comment card over here, and then I would be able to render the button, but I don't see any comment because I don't have anything in my comments array after this. So that's why it is not going inside this condition, and since it is not going inside this condition, it is not rendering this button. So how can I fix that? For that, I will add another condition. I will say else. So suppose if we don't have any sort of item next to it, then I won't check for these sort of condition where I need this index plus 1 numericals in order to process the data. Then I will just say just get the parent index like this. So I will add a condition saying get me the parent index, and I don't want to see anything. I don't want to check anything. And then after the once I got the parent index, I will just check the last comment, that last condition that we are checking over here, like this. But instead of returning the buttons 2 times like this, I will just cut this button and I will make a variable over here. I will say let button equal, and I will paste it over here. So this whole button JSX is equals to this button variable, and I will just render this button over here. I will just return, not, I will just return this, let me correct it correctly. I will just return this button in both of these conditions. So if I just save that, now you will see now I got this load more reply button because it is falling under this else condition. And if I click over here, this should give me the 09 reply, which was the 6th reply on this parent comment. So with this, we are actually done with our comments part, and we have successfully made our replies pagination, and we have made our fully working nested comment system. So now let's work on the settings page and the dashboard page so that user can manage the published blogs. User can see its notification and like change the profile image and the profile name and all those stuff. So let's do that. Okay, so now let's work on the settings page first, and then we will work on the dashboard. So to go to the settings page, of course, you can click on this profile image and then click on the settings, which will redirect you to the settings / edit profile route. So if I click over here, you will see the 404 page because we don't have that specific route mentioned in our app.jsx file, and that's why it is giving me this 404 page. So instead of getting this, let's make the settings page. So let's open the app.jsx file over here so that we can define the route. And what I will do is after this home page, I will add root component like this, and I will close it like this because what I want is I want to render the side navbar to more than one pages, because if I am in the edit profile, or if I am on the change password, or maybe in the manage blog or notification, I still want to render the side navbar so that user can navigate from blog to notification to settings to change password, all of that. And that's why I'm adding the root like this. And what I will do is I will add a path over here, and the path will be settings like this, and I will just render the element over here, which will just be a side nav. And obviously I don't have this side nav, that's why it is giving me this red line. So what I will do is I will go to the components folder, and you will see side navbar.component.js file. So let me just make a side nav functional component quickly over here, and this will basically for now return an h1 saying this is a side nav bar, and I will export this as a default function like this. And now if I just remove this again and retype, the VS Code will import it for me. And after this, what I will do is, well, this side nav will give you the side nav path, but after this I will specify two more paths, which will be one for the edit profile and one for the change password. So I will say root like this, and the path I will add first will be edit profile, and basically this will return an element. And we will not work on the edit profile right now, we will work on the side nav first and then the change password. So for now I will just render an h1 saying this is edit profile page, and let me just copy this again, and in the instead of path edit profile I will say the path should be change password, and this will return an h1 saying this is change password page, and we will get this side nav. So if I just save it, and you will see I am on the settings slash edit profile root, you will see that I got this is a side nav bar, but I didn't got this h1, which is this edit profile page. And this is because I'm not rendering the outlet over here. So what I will do is I will render the outlet over here as well. Let me add the curly brackets, the round brackets, and then I can make an empty JSX element, and then inside of it I can make an h1 saying this is side nav bar, and then at the end I will render the outlet, which is of course importing from the React Router DOM. So now if I just save that, I should see both of the h1 you can see over here. So instead of just rendering the h1s, now let's make the side nav bar. So now let's remove this h1, and now let's render or make the side nav bar. But before doing that, what I will do is I will add some conditions before rendering this whole side nav bar, because I only want to access this side nav bar, or actually the settings or dashboard page, only and only if the user is logged in. And if the user is not logged in, then we won't allow to access this page. So how I can check that? First of all, for that I need the access token, so that I can check whether or not the access token is null. And if it is null, I will just redirect the user to sign in page. So to access the access token, what you will do is I will say let, and I will destructure this later, but I will use the context over here, and the context that I will use is user context. And we have created this in the first part, so make sure you watched all those parts. So yeah, in here we have, in the user context, we have user auth as an object, and inside that object we have access token key, which contains the access token of the logged in user. So if it is null, then the user is not logged in, and if it is something, then the user is logged in. So what I will do here is I will say if access token is equals to triple equals to null, which means we don't have any logged in user. In that case, I will render a navigate component, and this navigate component is also from React Router DOM, which basically renders the user to the route specified. So first of all, let me import that component over here like this, and it is still giving me red line because I'm doing the ternary operation, but I didn't give the else condition. So I will just add this colon, and this will consider this as a else condition. So inside this navigate, I want to navigate the user to sign page if he or she is not logged in. In that case, I will give 2 as a prop and the URL, and the URL that I want to redirect is /sign in. And now I can again render the h1 saying this is a side and nav part to see whether or not this condition is actually working. So if I just refresh, well, you won't see any changes because over here I am logged in. That's why I'm getting this profile image. But if I click on sign out to sign out, and now let me just go to settings and slash edit profile, you will see I'm still redirected to this slash sign in because I am not signed in. So let me just sign in again, and let me give the password. Yeah, so now if I click over here and go to my settings, it won't redirect me to the sign in page, and that's great. So now instead of running this h1, let's make the side navbar. So what I will do is I will make a div over here, and let's give it a class name. I will say it to have a relative position, and I will give a flex box with a gap of 10 units, and padding from y will be a 0, and margin will be 0 from all 4 directions. And I will say the next uh, MD, which means basically uh, till medium screens, I will say flex to be on column direction. So max dash MD basically just means go till medium screens. After medium screen, this class won't apply. So basically inside this div will be the main container of the side navbar, and inside this we will create the navbar. So what I will do is actually instead of making this as a div, I will create it as a section, and now instead inside it I can create another div, and I can give it a class name. I can say sticky to have a sticky position, and from top it will have 80 pixels of margin, and then I will say that z index to be 30 units like this, so it will always stay on top. And if I just say, well, you won't see anything because these are empty structures. So inside this div I will make another div, and this div will be the main wrapper for the side navbar. Inside this, let's just give some class name, and actually before giving any class name, let's just give some content over here. So the first thing this div will have, or the side navbar will have, will be an h1, and this h1 basically will say dashboard, so that we can show dashboard navigations below this. So let's give it some class name. I will say text to be of excel size, and text color would be text dark gray, and I will say from margin bottom it will have 3 units from margin bottom. And if I just save, you will see a dashboard over here. Great. And you will see I am still getting this as a edit profile button page over here because I haven't give any sort of styling to this main div, and we will give it later, so don't worry. So you will see I got this dashboard over here. So after this, what I want is I want an HR which will be a separator between the title and the links. So I will say HR. I will self close it like this, and let's give it some class name also. So the class name will be border gray, to have a gray border, and from margin left it will be of 6 units, and from margin bottom it will have 8 units of margin bottom, and it will have 6 unit of margin right, like this. If I save, this is how it looks, and again this is not looking cool. So let's just give some classes to this so that we will be able to see the visual changes. So what I will do, I will say minimum width to be at least 200 pixels, and then I will say height to be cover, and this h dash cover is a custom CSS inside the index.css, so it's not a tailwind class. And I will say above medium screens the position will be sticky, and from top it will have 24 units, and I will say overflow from y direction to be auto, and I will give a padding from all 4 direction of 6 units, and on medium screen and larger than that I will give from right padding, I will give 0 units. And yeah, if I just save it, let's see how it looks. Now you will see that this is how it looks. I got this as a dashboard and this as a HR, and you will see I got this h1 over here, so don't worry about it. When we will work on the edit profile page, then we will see. So okay, so this is enough styling for right now. We will give more classes to this later. So after this HR, what I want is I want some sort of links in order to redirect the user. by clicking on that. So for that I will make a nav link over here, and this nav link is also a React router component which give you the access, the capability, so that a user can click on it to redirect from one page to another like this. And what I will do is I will give a to direction over here, and the to will be slash dashboard slash blogs like this. And on click I will give an on click event. So whenever you will click over here, this will run as a function, and that function will get this event. And what I will do is I will make a state over here. uh, let's call this page, and set page state equal use state like this. So basically this page state we will use in order to track the current page, because we are rendering this side navbar in four different routes. Then we need some sort of state in order to track the side navbar on different pages on different routes, and that's why I'm making this as a state. And whenever I will click on any of the nav links, what I will do is I will run a on click event which will basically change the state value so that we will remember the current page state. So over here I will just say set page state, and I will just say e dot target dot inner text. And basically e is referring to on which this e is just referring to this nav link, and e dot target is just this nav link, and dot inner text basically means whatever the text inside this nav link is. Basically we are setting that as a page state. So I will just give over here blocks like this, and if I just save it, I should see, yeah, you can see blocks over here like this. So now let's give it some classes also. So I will just add a class name, and I will give one class to this, and that class will be side nav sidebar dash link. And this sidebar dash link is a custom class inside the index.css, which will add all the classes or styles to this nav link that we need. So if I just refresh, you will see now it is looking different. So what else I want is I want one more icon inside this nav link to show before this block. So before doing that, let me first enable my word wrap, and let's go to the flat icon and to get the icon. So let's just go to flat icon, and let's search for the icon document. Let me search for document over here, and I guess this is the icon that I am using. So let's just copy this and paste it over here and change the class to class name. And if I go back to the website, you will see this is how it looks, and it is looking good. So this is the first nav link of the sidebar of our sidebar. So I will just make two more duplicates of it, and these will be for different nav links. So the first one was for blogs, the second one will be for notification. So what I will do is I will just add notification over here, and this will redirect, instead of redirecting to slash dashboard slash blog, I will redirect the user this time to slash dashboard slash notification like this. And on click will be the same, and the classes will be the same. Of course we need to change the icon. So if I come over here, let's see what I'm getting. So this is what I'm getting. So of course I need a bell icon over here. So let's search for bell, bell, and I believe this one we are going to use the RR, not the RS. So I guess let me see what, yeah, this one, this is the RR bell. So just copy this, and what I will do, I will paste that instead, and I'll change the class to class name. If I go back, you will see the notification like this, the blog like this. And now after the blog and notification, I want one link which will be the right. So whenever you click on that, it will take you to the editor, the same that we have over here. This same text and the same icon we want over here, so that user can click on it to go to the editor page. So instead of blog, I will say right, and of course I want to redirect the user to slash editor. And let me just remove this icon and let me search for right. And what is this icon look like? It is looking like this. I guess this one is the icon. So yeah, this one is the icon. So let me just copy this and paste it over here. Change the class to class name. And if I refresh, this is how our side nav bar looking right now. So the dashboard nav links are done. Now we have to make links for the settings, which will have edit profile link and a change password link. So let's do that. So what I will do is after this nav link, I will add one more H1 and HR. So instead of typing them again, I'll just copy this and I will paste it over here. This time, instead of showing the dashboard, I will say settings like this, and this will make the settings and an HR over here. And you will see that it is coming very close to this right nav link, and I don't have that much space over here. So what I will do is I will add one class to this settings, one tailwind class. I will say from margin top you can have 20 units, so it will have a 20 units of margin top, and this is how then it looks. So after this I need two links. So what I will do is I will just copy the last nav link and I will paste it after these. So this will say edit profile, and this will say change password, and I will change the two also. So I will say this will redirect the user to slash settings slash edit profile. Actually it is settings or setting, let me see. Yeah, it is settings, right? And this will redirect the user to slash settings slash change password like this. And now we have to change the icon. So let's go to this flat icon and let's search for user, and I guess this is the one that I'm using. So let's just copy that and paste it over here, change the class name class to class name, and the other one that I need is the lock, and this one I guess I'm using. Yeah, so let's just copy that and paste it over here and just say this to class name. So now if I just refresh, you will see this is how the side nav bar is looking. We have this dashboard which has these three routes. One is taking me to the blog page, the manage blog section, and then the notification, and this right, which will take me to the editor page. And then I have these settings where I have edit profile and change password, and you will see that edit profile is styled different because you will see I am currently on the settings slash edit profile route, and we have already given I have already given this styles inside this sidebar dash link class inside your index.css. That's why it is giving me this sort of styling. So if I click on change password to redirect me to change password route, you will see now I am on the change password route, and now this link is active. So far our side navbar is looking great, but still we want to do some more changes over here. We need to give a lot of css over here, and also we want to make this responsive, because if I go to the mobile screen, I don't want this to look like this. I have to change it a little bit. So let's first give some classes to this parent div, and actually before doing that, let's wrap this outlet inside a div like this, and let's say this div to have a maximum md. So which means maximum md, which means basically give this class till medium screen, and the class that I want to give is from margin top. It will have a -8 units, and I will say margin top, basically it will have then this, and I will say width to be full. So basically on medium screen and larger than that, I will have a margin top of 5, but on smaller screens I will have a -8 units of margin top, and I'm giving the width to be full so that it can come side by side. Because, and actually just cut this and paste it inside the section, because this section has this flex box over here, and since I have given this a full width, I should see, yeah, you can see the h1 is coming side by side now. Instead of coming below, it is coming side to the sidebar, which means it is great. So now what else is, I want to give some classes to this navbar to make it responsive. So let's go to this parent div and let's give some classes over here. So what I will say is I will say after the padding, right, I will give on the medium screen, and larger than that I will say border to be of gray color, and on medium screen and larger than that I will say border R, so it will have border on the right side, and I will give a absolute position when it is not on the medium screen. You can see I have given the sticky position when it is over medium screens, but if it is on the smaller screens, then I'm giving the position to absolute, and then I will say max till medium, so it is just means below the medium screens. The top will be 64 pixels, so it will come 64 pixels away from the top below the medium screens, and I will say the background to be white color, and below the medium screens I will say width to be some sort of calculation, and this calculation will be basically 100% negative, actually not negative, 100% plus 80 pixels. So by setting this width, now we will be able to make this side navbar responsive, and I will give some more classes over here. I will say max md, which means below medium screens, padding from x direction, in x direction will be 16 units, and then I again will give max md, and I will say margin of left will be -7, and then I will give some durations like duration of 500, which is the transition property. And again, if you are not getting any of these classes, it's just tailwind classes to give some css, and we are basically giving this to make the side navbar responsive. It's not that technical, so you can just follow me over here because it's not that hard. It is just some tailwind classes bind up together, which looks hard at first, and it is harder to explain if you don't see the output side by side. So just follow this and you will get the responsive sidebar. So after this what I will do is I will just save that, and you will see nothing very much is changed, but this is now a little bit responsive, because if I go to my mobile screens, now you will see that this is how it is looking, and this was not looking like this before, right? This is not looking like before. It is changed because we have given some styles which is affecting the smaller screens. So now what else I want is, I want in the smaller screen, I want one sort of navigation over here, which will have one icon, and on click on that icon you will get this whole side navbar navigation thing, and after that on the next to the icon will have the current page state, which can be the change password or blog or notification or edit profile, and when you click on that it will show you that the content of the page, which will be for now this text. So how can I do that? So first of all, let me just open this side by side to my code so that I can actually work in the smaller screens. Yeah. So what I will do is inside this div, before or like outside this parent side navbar, what I will do is I will create one more div, and this div will be the sort of navbar over here, which we will only show in the smaller screens. So what this div will basically do is this will have buttons. So I will give one button over here, and let me just have an icon inside it. So let me search for an icon, and I don't know what we call it. Let's say bars, and actually it is bars staggered, something like this. Yeah, I guess the RR1, which is this one. Yeah, so just copy this bars staggered icon and paste it over here, change the class to class name, and this will render that icon over here. So we will see this icon over here. So before doing anything, let's just style this div so that it will look something like a navbar. So I will give a class name over here. I will say on medium or larger screens it will be hidden and it will be only visible in the smaller screens. The background will be of white color, and from padding from y direction will be 1 units, and I will give a border of bottom, and I will say border to be of gray color, and I will give a flex box so that I can make the button side by side, and then I will say flex to be no wrap, so that if the buttons are going overflow, a user can use his or her mouse or cursor or finger to scroll through the navbar, right? And after that I will say the overflow in x direction will be auto, so that it can give you the scroll bar if there is any sort of overflow. So if I just save that, this is how it looks, and now we just have to style the button. So let's give some classes over here. I'll just say will be padding will be 5 units from all direction, and I will just say capitalize. Obviously this capitalize won't work in this because it has icon, but we will give the same for the other button as well. That's why I'm giving. So this is how this icon looks. Now what else I want to do is let's give this button a class saying pointer events none. So if you click on this button, this icon, this won't interact. If you click on the button, you won't get the interaction of this icon. You will get the button, and the reason I'm doing this because I want to add an on click event to this button, and you will understand it later. So yeah, so after this button, let me just copy this button and paste it over here. And what I will do over here is in here I will say that instead of rendering this what I will say render the page, and instead of calling this state page, I will say it to be page state. So I will just render the page state, and by default it will be nothing. But if I just go to the change password, if I click on it, you will see now the by default the page state has changed password, and I'm getting this change password button over here and this navbar button over here. And I want to add on click event to this, so that whenever I click on this, I'll see this sidebar navigation, and if I click on change password, I see I'll get the change password page content. So how can I do that? For that, of course, we need some sort of on clicks event. So before doing that, let's make another last element in this navbar on this div, which will be an HR. So I will just create an HR, and this HR will be same as the in-page navigation, and this will go on the active tab. So if I am on the change password tab, this H bar will come below the change password, and if I click on this button, then the this HR will come on below this button. So yeah, I hope you know this because we have done the exact same thing in the in-page navigation component in the last part. So yeah, so over here what I will do is I will add some class name. I will say it to have an absolute position and give it a bottom of 0, and I will give it a duration of 500, so it will have some sort of transition. Now what I want is I want all these three as a reference, so that I can access all of them inside the code which I will write outside this return. So outside this run I will write some JavaScript, and from there I want to control these, and these I can only control if I have their references. So let's make some reference over here. So I will say let, and what we will call these references. So I will say one to be active tab line, and this will be active tab line will be the HR. So I will just say equals to use ref to create one reference, and then I will create another variable. I will say dashboard icon, and this actually instead of calling dashboard, I will say sidebar icon, and I will equals to set it equals to use ref, and this sidebar icon will be the reference of this icon. And then I will say let, and then I will say active, instead of active I will say page state tab equal use ref, and this page state tab will be this tab, and this sidebar icon, actually let me just say it, sidebar icon tab. So this sidebar icon tab will be this, and this page state tab will be this, and I don't know why it is gone. So actually let me just remove this. Yeah, so let's see why it is not showing over here. Yeah, so let's add some reference over here. So what I will do is I want to give this a reference, and that will be the sidebar icon tab, and then I will give a reference over here, and this will be page state tab, and then in the HR I will give this as a reference. The reference will be active tab line, and if I save, and again I'm not getting the button, and now let's add on click event to this, and what I will do is I will add on click to both of these buttons, and whenever we will click on this button I will call one function which is change page state, which will basically change the state of the page. So I will just copy this, and I don't have that function, so I will make that function over right here, and this change page state function will basically change the page state. So over here I will say let, and obviously I'm doing the same thing that I did for the in-page navigation in order to get the left amount and the width of the button so that I can style the HR, and I can also change the page state. So that's why I'm using the destructure method over here, because I want to destructure the offset, actually it is called offset width, and I want to destructure offset left from e dot target dot e dot target, and I don't have access to e, so just type e over here, and e dot target is basically the button, and from the button you can get the offset width is the width of the button, and offset left will give you how far it is from the left. Now after this I will just select the active tab line dot current in order to select the HR, and then in order to change the CSS I will say dot style dot width equal offset, not left, offset width plus pixel. I'll just copy it again, and instead of width I'll say left to be offset left pixels, and then what I will say, I will add a condition. I will say if e dot target is equals to sidebar icon, which means if you have clicked on this sidebar icon button, in that case what I will say, well, I have to make another state over here, so let's just do that. I will have another state. I'll say show side nav, and set show side nav use state, and basically this will be false at start, like this. So basically what this state will do is it will be either false or true, and on the basis of that we will decide whether or not I have to show this sidebar or not. So if I have clicked on this and what do you want, if I have clicked on this navbar icon, in that case I want to show the side navbar, right? Let me just type it correctly. I want to show the side navbar, so in that case I will say set side nav show side nav to be true so that I can show it, otherwise set the side nav show side nav to be false, like this, and this will basically show and hide this side nav bar. And what I will do is well, this page state is not actually changing the page state, so you don't have to change the page state over here by calling this set page state function. Instead what I will do is, well, I won't do anything, and let's see whether it is working or not. So if I click over here, well, I got something, but well, I am not seeing or getting the button. So let's see why I am not getting that button. Okay, the reason I am not getting it is because I don't have anything in my page state. I don't have anything in my page state, so I have to set something in my page state in order to show it over here. And how can I do that? So well, basically I don't have any access to the current page. I don't know whether it's a change password page or the edit profile page or notification or blow. I don't know that, right? So for that, what I will do, I will create another variable, and I will say set it equals to page, and this will be set equals to location dot path name, and this location dot path name will give you the path of the current page. And from there what I will do is I will split that from this slash, and from there I will get the second index item. And what this basically is doing, actually, if I just comment this and open my console to type that over here, you will see that if I type location dot path name, you will see the path name is settings change password. And if I do the same again, but I'll say this time split, and the from where I want to split, I want to split it from the slash, then you will see I got one like an array with 3 items. The first is an empty array element, and the main thing that I want is this the last element, which is this change password, right? That's why I'm giving it a 0 index. So now I can uncomment it, because now you know. So just close that like this. And once I got the page, what I will do is, while creating the page state, I will just set it equals to this page. So if I just save that now, you will see that I got this change password, but still this change password is getting this dash over here. So what I will say is, I will say dot split. While creating the state, I will just say dot split, actually not split, I will say dot replace the dash with an empty space. So if I just save that, instead of the dash, I will get this. So if I click over here, this is going to be active, and if I click over here, this change password will going to be active. So you will see that these two buttons are working, and I'm able to change the activeness of both of them, but still I'm not able to change the visibility of this side number. And why is that? Because you are setting the show this show side nav state by calling this change page state, which is getting called by clicking on this button, but actually you are not accessing this show side nav value in order to decide whether or not you have to render this or not. So how can you do that? For that, we have to give some conditional class to this parent div, which is the main sidebar. So what I will do is, I will add curly brackets to wrap these class names, so that I can give some conditional classes over here, and at the end make sure you have this space, and then only you can type any condition, otherwise this won't work. So now add a plus, and now let's add some condition over here. So what I will say is, I will add a bracket, and I will say show side nav, and if show side nav is false, then I will run this condition. So if show side nav is false, which means I don't want to show this side nav, because by default it is showing, right? So the condition that I want to check is I don't have to show it. In that case, I will hide this. It will do the same thing, right? So that's why I have this exclamation in the beginning. So what I will do over here is, I will just say that maximum medium, which means below medium screens, the opacity will be 0, and I will say maximum medium, which will be below medium screen, the pointer events will be none, and in the else class, what I will say is, in the else I will say the opacity will be 100, and the pointer events will be auto. So the reason I am giving this maximum medium, because I only want to show and hide the side bar in smaller screens, because in the larger screens I won't not hide it. So that's why I'm giving this max medium. So if I just save that, and now you will see that I'm only getting this is a change password page. And if I click over here and over here, well, it is still not working. Okay, actually I guess I have to remove this exclamation in order to make it work. Okay, so it is not really working, because this is not updating this state. Yeah, actually it is not updating, because I have given here sidebar icon tab, but instead of that I need to access the icon, right? So I have to say dot current in order to access the button. And now if I just save that and click on this, you will see on clicking on this icon, I am getting the side navbar. And if I click on the change password, the state is getting to false, and now I'm not getting the side navbar. Instead, I'm just getting this this is change password page, which is the page content. And if I again click on it, this is how it is working, and if I click on it, this is how it is working. So now what else I want is, I want to add a use effect over here, use effect like this. And what I want is, I want to run this use effect whenever there is a change in page state. And why I'm doing this, because if I just go to my navbar and side navbar, and if I click, let's say, on the edit profile, you will see that the page is changed and I'm on the edit profile. But what I want is whenever the page state changes, I want, suppose if you have clicked on edit profile and suppose you have clicked on blog, what I want is once you have clicked on it, this side navbar should hide and you should go to this button, right, and you should see the page content. So for that, what I will do is I will say in the use effect that set show side navbar to be false. So I will hide the side navbar, and then I will say uh, which is the reference. Yeah, this is page state tab. So I will say page state tab dot current dot click. So that's so this will get clicked. So now if I go over here and click on blog, well, we don't have that URL, that's why I'm getting this page not found. So if I go to the change password, you will see the side navbar is hidden now and I got the change password content. And if I go to the edit profile, now I am on the edit profile and now this is like this. So just refresh it, and yeah, so this is how this looks. So we are done with our side navbar and it is responsive now, but there is a issue. And what is that? If you see, if I'm scrolling, that you can see that this sort of navbar is going and it is overlapping with our actual main navbar of this website. And also if I just click on the profile image, you will see that it is coming under or below this side navbar. So how how I can fix that? So to do that, what I will do is let's just open the, what you can say, just open the navbar.component.jsx file, and inside this, where I am returning this whole actual nav element, in the class name, after navbar, just add one more class which will be z-50. So basically we are providing it a highest level of z index, so it will always stay on top no matter what. So if I scroll it now, you will see there is no issue, it is coming below the main navbar. That's exactly we want. And if I click on the profile image, you will see that everything is coming as it should. So now there is another issue is even though I have given this top header of the side navbar a sticky position, but still it is not sticking, and you will see it is sticky for this moment and then it is going underneath the main navbar. And to actually fix that, the issue is the actual side navbar we have has a very big height, because it has a height of 100 VH minus the height of this navbar. But in smaller screens I have also added this, so we have to remove the height of this header navbar from the main sidebar div in order to make it cover the actual height. So how can I do that? So let's just go to the side navbar and just go to this div, which is the main div of our whole side navbar. And here you can see I have given it a h-cover class, and this is custom class inside index.css, which is basically just removing 80 pixels from 100 VH, because this navbar, the main navbar, is at 80 pixels of height. So what I want now is I will say that it should apply this h-cover only and only on the medium screen. So if I just save that, you will see that now there is no issue. And if I just open it, there is still no issue. But what I want is I want this side navbar to cover whole height. So how can I do that? So for that I will say h dash to set the height using tailwind classes, and to set a custom amount, or like you can say a custom number, we have to say square brackets, and inside the square bracket I will use the calc function of the CSS to calculate some value, and that value will be 100 VH minus 80 pixels, which is the height of this main navbar. And then I will subtract the height of this header, this navigation of the sidebar. Let's assume it is around, I guess, 60 pixels. So if I just save that, you will see I'm still getting this scroll bar, but now I'm not able to now this header or whatever you want to call it is sticky, and you can see if I'm scrolling, only if this is a change password page is scrolling, but this is not scrolling. So basically we are actually done with our side navbar. So Now let's move on to our change password page, and let's create the change password first, and then we will make the edit profile, and then we will move on to the dashboard section. So now instead of just rendering this in H1, this is a change password page. Now let's work on our change password component. So just go to the app.jsx and let me first enable my word wrap. So here you can see in the change password path, I am rendering this H1. So just remove that, and instead that I will render change password component, and obviously we don't have this component, that's why it is giving me this red line. So let's just open the folder view, and in the components folder you will find actually not in components, you will find pages, you will find in pages change dash password dot pages dot jsx. So just open that, and let's create that component over here. So just type const and then the name of the component, which is change password, and let's create a function component, and this for now will return an h1 saying this is a functional component. You can call it whatever you want, and make sure you export that as a default function also, like this. And now if I go to my app.jsx and let me retype this again so that the VS Code will import it for me. Now if I just save it and refresh the website, you will see I am getting this h1, which is this is a functional component, which means I am able to render this change password component. So now we don't have so now we don't need this app.jsx, so you can close that, and let's just remove this h1. And now let's actually work on this change password. So what we need in our change password page, well, actually we need two input fields, and one will be for the current password and the second will be for the new password, and then we just need a button in order to change the password. So let's do the UI first, and then we will see the backend and the validation part. So what I will do is, first of all, I will render an animation wrapper because I want fade in animation over here, and you will see that it is giving me red line. So let me just import it over here as well. Import animation wrapper from, and I guess it is in common, actually common, yeah, dash animation page animation.jsx. Yeah, so we have this animation wrapper component in common page animation, so that's how you can import this. And after this animation wrapper, what I want is I want a form, and inside this form element I will make the two inputs. So first of all, inside this form element I will make an h1 which will just say change password. So I will just type that over here. If I save, I should see an h1 saying change password. Great. Now let's style this a little bit. So I will give some class name which will be maximum medium, it will be hidden. So basically what it's saying is if I am in the smaller screens, I don't need to see this change password because I am getting this change password text over right here. But if I go to like say medium screen and larger than that, then I will see that change password h1 or text over here, so that the user know that what exactly the user has to do over here, right? So after this, what I will do is I will make a div, and inside this div I will create two input box. So to create input box, we will use the custom input box component that we have created inside this. If you go to the component, you will see that we have input.component .jsx, which has this input box component. So we will use that component to render over here because it has all the validations and styling so that we need in our form. So obviously it is giving me red line, so let me just import that over here. So I will say import input box from component input.component, and if I just save that, I will get an input box like this. But you will see it is just a basic one because I didn't provide values of the props in order to set it. So I will say the name will be current password, and make sure you name this input box correctly, like this, not like this or like this. You can use let's say underscore, but you can't use dash in the name because we will use this current password inside our JS to select this input box, and we can't use dash in between two words in JavaScript, right? so make sure you don't do that. So after giving the name, I'll just say the type to be password so that we won't see the text, and I will give some class name. Actually, let me enable my word wrap first. So enable word wrap, and let's give it a class name. That class name that I want to give is profile edit input, and again this is a custom class inside your index.css file, so you don't have to worry about this. After the class name, I will give a placeholder to this, and the placeholder will just say current password, so that user know that you have to type current password in this field. And in the icon, I will provide a flat icon class, and that will come over right here. So let's just go to the flat icon, and let me search for unlock, which will be the log sort of thing, like this. So let me just copy this, because this is the icon that we are going to use. And actually, do not copy this whole I tag, just copy this class, which is fi unlock, just this part, because everything else is our input.component is doing. So you just have to pass this class, and if I just save that, you will see that I got this input box over here, which with an icon and the placeholder and the icon, because its type is password, and I can type here anything that I want. So I want the same thing again, but this time this will be new password. So just change the name, and just change the placeholder of this, which will be new password, and the name will be new password. So save that, and this is how you can create two input box like this. So after this, we need one button over here, which will just say change password, and whenever you will click on it, it will just make a request to the backend in order to change the password. So let's make that button over here, and what I will do is I will say over here change password to show that in the UI like this, and let's style this so it look like a button. So I will say BT and dark, and again this is a custom class inside the CSS file, and I will set the padding in X direction to 10 units, and the type of this button will be submit, so that whenever you click on it, this will submit this main form. And obviously we will add onClick event to it. So let's before adding the onClick event, let's just give some classes to this div in order to make it a little bit like let's add some gap over here, and let's do some more styling. So let's just add a class name to this main div, which is a wrapper of these three inputs, and I will say padding from y-axis to be 10 units, and width will be full, and in the medium screens, the max width will be 400 pixels. So I don't want I don't want it to cover the full width in the larger and medium screens, so that's why I'm limiting the width to 400 pixels, but in smaller screens it can cover the full width. So if I just go to my, like, say, medium screen and the larger screen, this is how the page will look, and if I go to the smaller screen, this is how the page will look. So with this, we are actually done with the change password UI, because there is nothing else we have to do over here. Now we just want is whenever we will click on it, we need to validate the data over here and then send it to the backend, and then do our things over there in order to change the password. So let's do those things step by step. Let's proceed with the onClick event of this button. So let's add an onClick event to this submit button, and we will call handle submit function whenever we will click on this button, and obviously we don't have that function inside this change password component, so let's create that over here. I will call it handle submit like this, and just add e as a parameter so that I can say e dot prevent default like this. And by doing e dot prevent default, what I'm just saying is whenever I'll click on this button, since it has a type of submit, it will submit the form, but then I'm just saying e dot prevent default in order to prevent the form from submission. And now once I am preventing it from submission, what I want is I want to extract the data from this form, which will be the values of these two inputs. And how we can do that, we have already done these things in the last or previous part, so it's just the same thing. what we will do is first we will create a reference that we will give to this form, and then we will use that reference in order to extract these two inputs values. So let's create that reference over here. So I will say let, and I will call this reference change password form, and I will say equal use ref in order to create a reference, and it is giving me red line. So let's import that use ref also. I'll say import in the curly bracket use ref from React, and this is how you can import the use ref. So now once you got this variable, just come over here and in the form element, let's just give a ref prop and just set its value equals to change password form. So this is how you can reference the form inside React. And now once I got the reference of the form, what I will do is, first of all, what I will say is whenever we will call this handle submit, I will so to extract the data from the form, what I will say is I will create a variable, I will call it form equal, and then I will use the classes JavaScript class, which is form data. So I will say new form data, and this is JavaScript form data class which extract the data from the actual HTML form. So you have to provide the actual HTML form inside this while creating this form data class in order to get the data from that HTML. So what I will say here is I will pass this form reference, which is change password form dot current, so that it will give this form HTML inside this class in order to retrieve the data. And once I got the form, then I will create another variable that will be form data, and I will just set it equals to an empty object. And now what I want is I want to loop in my form in order to retrieve its each value and key, and then I will put that inside this object. Then only I will be able to access the values of the form, otherwise I won't be able to access it. So in the for I will say let, and there then I will say key value, which basically means let two variables, one is key and second is value, and then I will say off, like from what I want these two values. So I want these values from form dot entries like this. So form dot entries method will give you the entries of the form, and they will be in a pair of key and a value. So the key will get stored inside this key variable, and the value will get stored inside this value variable. So inside this loop, what I will say is I will say that just access this form data like this, and in the square bracket I will say underscore in the square bracket I will say key, which means just set this key inside this form data and just set it equals to the value of this, which is coming from the form entry. So once we are done with the loop, we will have the two data, which is this current password and new password, inside this form data object. So now we have to destructure it so that we won't use that like form data dot new password or form data dot current password. So for that I will say let, and then in the curly bracket I will say current password, and I will say new password, and make sure these two things are exactly same with the name of the input box, because from this method whatever the key will be, the key will be equals to the name. So since you want to destructure the key from this form data, that should be equals to the name of the actual input. Make sure you do that, and just set it equals to form data in order to destructure it like this. Just save that, and now we have access to the value of this input box, which is current password, and we have access to the value of this new password input box as well. So now what I will do is I will add some sort of validations over here. So I will say if underscore if exclamation current password dot length or exclamation new password dot length, which means from these two, if anyone doesn't have any sort of length, then what I will do is I will return from this function, and I will not go below this function and below this line. And what I will return is I will return an error, and to show an error we are using React hot toast in our project, and to use that hot toast you need two elements or two components. So let me import that over here. The component that I need is first of all toast, which will be used in order to show the error, and then the toaster, which is an actual JSX element which will show the UI. So I'll just say import it from React hot toast like this, and I will just add this toaster JSX element just above this form. And if you don't add this, then you won't be able to see the UI of the error. And when you want to return an error, you just have to say toast dot error to show an error, and the error that I want to show is fill all the inputs if any of the input is blank or empty. So if I just save that and click on change password, you will see that I got an error saying fill all the inputs. So if I type here, let's say hello, and obviously you can't see it because uh, it's a password. So if I click over here, you will see that this is a word. So we have something in the current password, but the new password is still empty. So if I click on change password, you will see that I got this fill all input again. But if I say hello again over here and click change password, now I don't get any error, which means it's working. So after this condition, what I want is I want to validate that these two passwords are like following. Let me just comment this. So what I want is I want to validate that these two passwords are following our actual password rule, which is one numerical letter, one uppercase letter, and at least 8 letters or 6 letters. So we need to validate those things first before making a request, because if the user is not following that trend, then why we make a request? We can just alert the user that you should first of all follow these conditions, then only we will update, right? So for that, what I will do is let's just go to the server.jsx, and over here you will see that I have this password regex thing. So just copy this password regex variable, and let's just paste this after this change password form. So this password regex is the regex, or you can say regex expression, which is telling what our password should follow. So we will use this regex expression in order to test the values of these two inputs, and if any of the value is not matching with the this expression, then we will alert the user and show an error. So in the if condition, now I will say password regex in order to access this regex expression, and to test the values of these, I will say dot test in order to test it, and then I will say current password to test the current password. And if this is following it, then it will be true. But what I want is I want to go inside this condition when it is not following this password regex expression. In that case, I have to add exclamation at the beginning, and I will do the same thing for the new password. So I will just say exclamation password regex dot test method, and inside that I will say new password like this. So once I am done with the condition, these conditions are basically telling if any of the any of the password is not following the password regex, or which is the expression for the password, like the validation of the password, then you should go inside this condition, and in that case what you have to return is return an error with and toast return an error. In that case, what you have to return is return an error like this, and that error will be again the long string that we have written for the login thing. So what I will do is I will just come to my sign up thing, and I'll just copy this error from the server.js, and I will paste that over here so that I don't have to type it again. So now if I just say click on change password, you will see that password should be 6 to 20 characters long with one numeric, one lowercase, and one uppercase letter. And since it doesn't have any sort of uppercase or lowercase, that's why it is giving me the error. So if I just say, let's say the h of the hello should be a capital, and then I'll, let's say, add 1, and then I'll say the same thing for 1 over here. If I click change password, you will see that nothing happened. I didn't got any error, which means this condition is also working. So after validating the form data, now the only thing is left is we have to send this data in our backend in order to process it and change the password of the login user, right? So how you can do that? So before doing that, let's make the server root inside the server.js, and then we will make the request from the front end in order to change the password. Okay, so let's work on the change password route inside the server.js. So I will make this route just below this Google authentication route. So after that, I will just say server.post in order to make a post method route, and the route will be change password. So whenever we will make request to this change password, what I want is I want to go it through an middleware which will be verified JWT, and by using this verified JWT middleware, I can be assured that only logged in user is accessing this change password, because if the user is not logged in, this middleware won't let the user to access this change password route and process the data. So once done with that, it will run a callback with request and response parameters. So inside this callback, I will destructure the two input values that I'm getting from the front end from the request.body. So those two values are current password and new password, and again these two are exactly same to this name of the form, because this is the same with the destructured things, and these are the destructured variable that we are going to send in the backend. So make sure all of these names are exactly the same. I will just set it equals to request.body in order to destructure it from the request body. So once I get that, what I want is I want to validate the data. So I will not add validation of this empty value. I will just add a validation of this condition. So I will just copy this condition and I will paste it over here, and I have this password regex inside the server.js at the top, so it won't give me any sort of error. Let me go over here, and I have this current password and new password coming from this body, so it won't give me any error. And let me just enable my word wrap so that you can see the code much better. Right, so once I am done validating, and actually instead of returning the toast.r, because I don't have the toast access in the server, I have to return this as a JSON to our front end. So how I can do that? So just remove this toast.r and say response.json, actually response.status, to send a status code, and the status code that I want to send is 403, which is forbidden code. And then I will say JSON to send a JSON, and inside the JSON I will add a curly bracket in order to make it an object, and the object will have a key error, and I will do this like this. So whenever we will get inside this condition, it will return a response with a status of 403 and a JSON with an error key, and the error will be this. So this is how you can validate inside the server. And once I am done validating and believe and if the password is following the password regex, then what I want is I want to update the password of the user. In that case, what I will do is I will say user dot find in order to find the user from the users collection of the MongoDB. So I will say find one, because I will have only one user in the MongoDB, of course, with the same ID. So I will say find it using the ID, and the ID that I want to give over here, I can get it from the verified JWT, because if I click on the verified JWT, you will see that if it is a logged in user and a valid user, then I am setting the user ID equals to the request.user. So I can actually access the ID by saying request.user, and this will give me the actual user ID, which is who is actually requesting on this change password route. So once I got the user document, then I will say dot then in order to process that document. So I will just say user to get that user document over here. So what I will say is I will first check if user.google_auth, and again, if you don't remember, this Google auth is a key inside the document of the user, which can be either true or false, and this basically will tell whether or not a user has tried to log in using Google or not. So like if the user has tried or like created the account using Google authentication, then we don't have any sort of password inside our document which we can compare in order to set the new password, right? So in that case, what I want to do, if it is a Google authenticated user, then I will just alert the user that since you have created the account using Google authentication, you can't change the password. And if the user is not the Google authenticated one, then we will be able to access the password of the from the document, and then we can check the password equals to the current password or not, and then we can set the password, right? So over here I will just say return, because if the user is authenticated by the Google, then I will just return a response with a status of 403, actually, yeah, 403, and then I will send a JSON, and the JSON will have an error key, and the error that I want to send is you can't change account's password because you logged in through Google like this. So we will just send this error to the front end if the Google authenticated user tried to change the password. So if suppose we have a password inside the document, which means the Google authentication is false. In that case, I want to compare the the current password, which is coming from the front end, to the actual stored password in the database. But remember that we are not storing our password in the database like a plain text. So suppose if I have a password of hello1, I am not storing this hello1 in my database, but I have stored in my database some sort of number which convert back to this hello1. And to do this, I use bcrypt.js library. So in order to compare the actual plain text with this encrypted code, we need to use that library again, and we can do that by just calling bcrypt.compare. So I will just use bcrypt over here in order to access that library or the package. And to compare a plain text and the hashed password, I will say compare, to use the compare method. And you have to first provide a first parameter will be the plain text, which is the current password that you want to compare, and then you have to pass what thing you want to compare from, which is the hashed password. So the hashed password you can get it from the user document from this user. And since the if I just open my let's say user, you will see that this password is inside this personal info, and the user is actually giving me the whole document. So this, in this whole document, this personal info is an object which contains this password key. So in order to access that password, I have to say user dot personal underscore info, and since it's an object, I will say dot password to access that password. And this will be the hashed password that is stored in our document, and this is the plain password that is coming from the front end. And once it is done comparing, it will run a callback with an error and a result as a parameter. So if we get any sort of error while comparing these things, then I'll just return from this whole callback, and I will just respond with a status of 500, which is internal server error. And I will say just send a JSON with error key, and the error will be some error occurred while changing the password, please try again later, like something like this. And suppose if we don't have any sort of error, then we can compare the result. It can be either true or false. So if it is false, which means the current password is not equal to the actual stored password in the database, which means the password is wrong. In that case, I will just say if result, like this will be false. So if the result is false, which means both of the passwords are not matching, in that case I will go inside this condition, and I will return a response with a status of 403. And I will send a JSON with an error key like this, and the error that I want to say is incorrect current password, like this. Let me type it correctly like this. So if the password got matched, like the current password and the actual password stored in the database both are matched, then what I want to do is I want to convert this plain text into an actual hashed text that I can store it inside the document. And once I get the hashtag, I will use the Mongo's update function or update method in order to update the document. So first of all, I have to convert this plain text into hashed text. So I can, so how I can do that? So I will say bcrypt dot hash in order to hash the password. So you have to say what text you want to hash, and the text that I want to hash is the new password, because this is the password that the user want to change set. So I will say new password, and then I will say salt rounds like this. Salt round is like how many times you want to go in the hashing, and it is the larger you go, it will be much harder to crack. So I'm just saying salt rounds. And actually I don't have this salt round variable over here, right? Otherwise it would have given me the suggestion, right? So let me see what level. Yeah, you can see in the password hashing I am using salt level to be 10. So what I will do is I will do the same over here. I will say the salt round to be 10, and then it will run a callback like this, and this callback will have an error. and a hashed password. So this hashed password will be the password that we will store in the database and we will update the document with, and this error will be obviously an error if we got any. So what I will say is, I will say user, in order to find the user from the database, I will say user dot find one and update, because I will only have one user with the same ID in the database and I have to update it. So that's why I'm using this condition. And then the condition on which I want to find is underscore ID should be equals to request.user. And once I got that, after the comma, just add the curly bracket and pass whatever field you want to update. And the field that I want to update is personal underscore info, because this personal underscore info is the object, and inside this object I have the password key. So to access that, I have to say dot password like this, and once I got the password, then what I have to say, I have to just set it equals to this hashed password over here like this, and then I can just say then method in order to process the find one and update function. And when I'm done with it, it will give me an object which will be this user object, and I will just say response, actually I will say return in order to return a response, because I am done updating the password. So I will say response dot status, and the status will be 200 dot JSON, and the JSON that I want to send over here is, I will say status password change, something like this. And since it is a then, I will use a catch in order to catch any error. So if we get any sort of error, in that case I will return a response with a status of 500, which is internal server error, and the JSON that I want to send with this status will be an error saying some error occurred while saving new password, like this, please try again later, like this. And after this, what I will do is, since this is also a then block, at the end I will add another catch block to catch if any catch any error if I get. And if I get any error, what I will do is I will console log the error, and I will response with an status of 500, and I will send a JSON saying error, and the error is user not found, because you can type anything, but this catch is actually coming from this then, which is actually finding the user. So if I'm not getting the user or any error, so I'll just say user not found. So now if I just save it, well, you won't see any much changes, and we have actually done coding this change password route. So actually it is all done. Now before going to our front end and test it out like it is working or not, let's just test this inside our inside our REST API. So let's just go to request.rest, and over here, from here, let's make request to this change password route in order to see whether or not it works. Before making a request to actual this change password, we need a logged in user authentication token, otherwise it won't let me go through this middleware. So let's just make to the request to the login API login route in order to get the token. So what I will do here is I will say let me first comment this, and I will just say add make a post request to http colon slash slash local host 3000 slash, and the route that I want to make request is sign in, like this. Let me see, is it sign in or not? Yeah, it is sign in. So basically this sign in will take email, and in the email I will say kunal@gmail.com, and in the password I'll say capital KUNAL Kunal1. So this is the password of this email. So if I just press send request, this should give me, okay, it is saying email not found. Actually, oh yeah, actually you have to say content type application slash JSON as well, otherwise it won't accept the JSON, and I always forget this. So yeah, make sure you add this and then make a send request, then you will get this access token. So just copy this access token and let me just paste it over here, because I need this access token in order to make a request to this change password route. So what I will do now is I'll just change the route to change password, and it will be a post method. The content type will be application JSON, but right now I will say the header authorization, and the authorization header will be bearer and then the authentication token. So I'll just copy it and paste it right over here, and then I need to pass or give these two things. So I will just say current password and I'll say new password. These two things I have to send to the backend. So the current password will be obviously the current password, and you can see the current password of this email is under capital K Kunal and 1. So if I just type here, let's say hello 1, and let me say capital H, otherwise it will give me validation error, and let me say new password to be this, and if I press send request, you will see that I got an error saying incorrect password, incorrect current password, which means I am going through this change password, and this is passed this user got Google authentication validation, and in the compare it got the result false, and that's why it is giving me incorrect current password. So which means this is working. So let me just say KUNAAL1, which because this is the actual current password, and let's just change it from 1 to 2, and now let me make a request to this, and now I got a status of password changed, which means the password is changed. So now if I just comment this and make another request to log in so that you can see. So like if I just say http localhost 3000 slash sign in like this, and if I say content type to be application slash JSON, and in the body I'll send an email with kunal@gmail.com, and in the password I will say, so in the password, well, I will send capital K Kunal 1, and this was the last password which I have sent in the change password in order to change it from 1 to 2. So now if I try to sign in using this one password which has this 1 at the end, it should give me incorrect password. So if I click on send request, you will see that I got an error saying incorrect password, because now this Kunal with the 1 at the end is not the actual password right now, and the actual password right now is this with a 2. So if I just click send request now, you will see that now I got the access token. So if I just comment this and uncomment this, and now if I just make a request it again, you will see that I got another error saying incorrect current password, because the current password is not 1, it's 2, and since I want to change it to 1 back to 1, so I will do this like this, and if I click send request, then I got a status of password change. And now if I just comment this and uncomment this, and now if I try to log in using the password of the 2, you will see that it is incorrect, which basically means that I am able to change the password of the user using this change password route. So basically the route is done. Now we just have to work on our backend in order to make a request to the server with the exact data, and then we can process the response from the server that we get. So let's do that. So now let's send the actual data from the front end to the change password route inside the server.js. So after the validations, what I will do is before making request to the backend, I will set a disable attribute to this button. So once you clicked on the change password and I am sending the data to the backend, if the user click on the button again, it won't send the data again to the backend. So just to stop that double or triple data sending, I am just adding the disable attribute. So I will say e.target.set attribute, and e.target basically will give you the button, and dot set attribute is the method to in order to set the attribute, and the attribute that I want to set is disabled, and the value will be true. Make sure you type this disabled correctly, otherwise it won't add this attribute. So once I'm done, I will add or actually I will show a loading toast over here, which will show a changing password, or you can say updating or anything like that. So I will just say let equal loading toast, and we will do the same thing that we did while uploading the banner image, which was showing that it is uploading the image, and once the image got done uploading, then it shows the success alert. So we will do the same thing over here. So that's why I'm creating this variable which will store the loading toast. So I will say toast dot loading, and then the text that I want to show. So I will just say updating like this. Let me correct the spelling, updating. Great. And then I will make request to the backend on the change password route. So to make request, I will use Axios, make sure import that, and then the method that I want to make request is dot post like this, and then I'll say import dot meta dot n dot wait underscore server underscore domain. And actually this wait server domain is a variable inside the .env file which equals to the localhost 3000, and this is the way you can import the variable from the n file in the wait environment. So after that I'll just add a plus and then the root where I want to make a request, and the root that I want to make a request is change dash password like this, and the data that I want to send is form data. So you can just call pass the form data over here, because this form data is an object which contains this current password and the new password, and these two exact things we are destructuring in the server.js. If I go over here, you will see that these two exactly are same, which is stored inside this form data. So you can just send this like this, and after this we need to send the access token of the logged in user as in the header. Otherwise we won't be able to bypass the middleware, which is the verify JWT. So what I will do over here is I will say headers in order to set the headers, and the header that I want to set is authorization, and then use the template literal. So make sure you use this. So inside it I will say bearer and then dollar curly bracket, and inside it I can pass the variable which will be access token, and this access token will be equals to the access token of the logged in user. But obviously we don't have that have this access token, that's why it is giving me red line. So let's just import the access token from the user auth which is inside our user context. So I will say let, I'll destructure things later. I will say use context in order to use the context, and the context that I want to use is user context like this. And again it is not giving me the suggestion, so I have to import it manually. I will say user context from, I guess it is on the app.jsx, because if I go to app, yeah, in the app I have user context, so I can import it like this. And from the user context I want to destructure user auth, which is an object, and inside that object I have a lot of keys, and one of the keys are access token. So I can destructure the access token from the user auth like this, and then I will get the access of this user auth token. So once I'm done setting the header and giving the body and the root, now we just have to catch the response in the .then block. And once I get the response, what I will do is I will dismiss the loading toast. So I will say toast.dismiss, and I'll just pass this loading toast over here. And then you will see that since I have added the disabled attribute to the button, I will just remove this over here. So I'll just say e.target set attribute, I will say disabled to false. You can either do this or you can say remove attribute. In order to remove the attribute, make sure you type it correctly, and you can just say disabled, so it will just remove the disabled attribute from the button like this. And then I will return from this whole handle submit function, and I will show an toast with a success like this. And the success message that I want to show is password updated like this. And if I say dot catch, like if I'm using then I have to use catch in order to catch the any error. So over here I will destructure response from the Axios, because remember in the error case Axios gave us the whole Axios object, and from the Axios object we need to gather the response, and from that response I can access the error by saying response.data.error. So over here we will do the same thing. Well, so I'll just copy these three lines and paste it over here. I will dismiss the loading toast. I will remove the disabled attribute from the button, but this time while returning I will not show a success toast. Instead I will show an error, and that error will basically will be this response dot data, which will be equals to the data that we get from the backend. And obviously we will get an error key from the backend if we get any sort of error. So I will say data dot error. So if I just save that and refresh the page, okay, I'm not seeing anything. So let me just restart my server. And let me just refresh it like this. I guess this should work. Yeah, so now it has worked. So let's go to the change password page, and again it is not coming. Let's see, either I guess I have some error. Yep. What error we have? The above error occurred in change password. Cannot destructure a property user auth or use context as it undefined. Okay, it is saying this. Okay, this I have messed up over here while importing the user context. You can't import the user context from the app like this, because if I go to the app, well, you can only import without the curly bracket the function if they are a default function export. But since this user context is not a default export, I have to say it inside a curly bracket. So if I just add a curly bracket, then it won't be undefined, and then it won't give me any sort of error. So if I just refresh, now you will see the form over here. And let's say actually let's come over here and let's give it a password, which will be this Kunal with 1 at the end, and then the password that I want to change it to will be Kunal by at the end 2. So if I click on change password, you will see that I got a message saying password updated. So now since the password is updated, this Kunal with the 1 at the end is not my current password, and since it is not my current password, if I click on change password, it should give me an error saying incorrect password. So if I click on change password, you will see that I got an error saying incorrect current password, because now my current password is not 1 but it is 2. So if I just go over here and say 2, and I let's say in the new password I say 1 and click on change password, now it is saying password updated, which means it is working and we are able to change the password of the login credentials. So we are done with our change password page also. So now the only thing we have to do is work on the edit profile, and by with that we will be done with our setting pages, and then we can move on to our other pages, which will be blog and notifications. So now let's click on the edit profile to go to the edit profile page, and you can come on this page by clicking on this settings page also, setting links also. So basically right now the edit profile page is just showing the h1. So now let's just remove this h1 and instead let's render an actual edit profile page over here, which user can use to change the username and the let's say the bio and the social links and the user profile image. So let's make that. Okay, so now let's work on the edit profile page, where instead of just rendering this h1, we will render the whole edit profile form. So the first thing that we want to do is first of all we want to make a request to the server in order to get the data of the user. So like we want to retrieve the profile data from the server, so that when we will render the form, we can show and fill that form with the existing data, and then we can give the user the rights to change the data and update it. So before doing anything or doing any changes in our JSX, we will first make a request to our server in order to fetch the data of the user, and we will use the same way. We will make a request to the get profile root the same way we did for this profile page. As you can see in the profile page, I am able to get the profile image, the username, the name, and all other information. So we will make the request to the same root in order to get these information, and then we will display it in the form of a form. So let's do that. So let me just go back to the settings where I have this edit profile page. So let's go to the React code and let's just open the edit profile page, and inside here, well, we don't have anything inside this edit profile page. So you will see that we have something in change password, but the edit profile page is empty because we didn't created any component over here. So just open the app.jsx, and here instead of returning this h1, let me just remove this and let me render edit profile component, and obviously we don't have that component. So just copy this name and open the edit profile page, and let's quickly create that component over here like this. And this for now will return an h1 saying, actually let me just wrap this h1 or any JS6 of this return into brackets, and I will just return here an h1 saying this is edit profile page. and make sure you export this function as a default function. So just add export default and the name of the function, which is edit profile. And now let me just retype this edit profile component in the app.jsx file so that the VS Code will import it for me. So now the red lines are gone and I can close this folder view now. So just save that, and if I go back, you will see that I am getting an H1 saying this is edit profile page, which is directly coming from this edit profile component. So without doing anything over here, what we will do is we will make a request to the backend in order to get the data of the user. So what I will do here is I will use a use effect hook over here, and this use effect will run only once whenever it is done returning the JSX. And what I want is I only want to run this use effect when I am logged in, which means if I am logged in, then only I would be able to access this settings page, otherwise I won't be able to access this. So when I am making a request to the server, well, I need that access token. So for that I need the access token over here, then only I can make request to the backend. So let me just destructure the access token over here like this, and we will destructure it later, but we will use context hook, and the context that I am going to use in order to get the access token is user context like this. And user context has this user auth object which has this access token key like this. So what I want is I want to run this use effect after when it's done returning the JSX, and I also want it to run whenever there is a change in access token. So that's why I am giving the access token inside the array like this. And what I will do over here is I will just add a simple condition saying if there is any sort of access token, because if there is no sort of any access token, then we won't be able to make requests to the servers. So there is no need to make request because we don't have any access token. So if we have any access token, then what I will do is I will make an Axios, I will make a post request using Axios. So make sure you import the Axios, and then I'll say axios.post, and I will import the localhost domain. So I'll just say import.meta.n. Wheat underscore server underscore domain. And again, if you don't remember, this wheat underscore server underscore domain is a variable inside a .env file which stores the domain of our server. And to access the variable from the .env in the wheat environment, you have to do import.meta.env. So after this, what I will do is I will add the root. So if I just go to my server, you will see that I have this get profile where I am making a post request. So whenever there is a post request to this get profile, it will retrieve the username from the request body, and then it will find the user with that same username, and it will return the information that we actually need from that user. So what I will do over here, I will make a request to get profile domain like this. And what I will do is I want to send the username over here. So what I will say is I will say username colon, and the username of the user will be this user auth. Well, this user auth is from the user context, and it's an object which contains access token as well as the username, full name, and profile image of the logged in user. So to access the username from there, I will say user auth dot username, and you will see that I'm getting this red line under the user auth, and that is because I don't have access to user auth since I have only destructured this access token from the user context. So I have to destructure the user auth also. So for that, just add a comma before this user auth, and you can type user auth like this. Then this way then this way the user auth will be destructured also. So after sending this body, I don't have to do anything. I'll just catch the response using dot then method, and whatever the data I'll get, I'll just destructure that data over here. So once we get the data from the server, for now what I will do, I will just console log the data so that we can see what is the data we are actually getting. So after done with that, let me just open my console, and if I just refresh, you will see that I got an object over here which has this account info, joined at, personal info, social link, all the details of the current logged in user which we need in order to render the UI. So since we have the object now, now we can work on the UI. And so let's just work on the UI and let's render the form. So instead of just rendering the data in the console, what I want is I want to store this data inside a state which we call a profile state. So let's just create that state over here. I'll just say const and I'll say the state will be profile and the set function will be set profile. This profile state will be equals to this data that we are getting from the backend. So I'll just set it equals to use state, and by default value of this profile will be profile data structure, and this profile data structure is inside this profile.page.jsx which we have coded in the last part. And if you don't remember why I'm setting this data structure as a default uh, data for this profile, is just because we need to destructure the keys from this profile object over here, and this use effect only will run after this return, and in the return we need to access those keys, and therefore it will give errors because it won't be able to destructure it from an empty object, right? If you don't understand what I'm saying, just watch the last part or the previous parts. So okay, so instead of just console logging it, I can just say set profile function and I can just pass the data over here in order to change the profile state. And along with that, what I will do is I will create another state, and that state will be loading, and the set function will be set loading. And again, this state we will use in order to show the loading animation. So if we don't have any response from the data backend, we will show the loader, and if we get any sort of data from the backend, then we will just remove the loading animation and we will render the form. So just use the use state, and by default this will be true so that we can show the loading animation. So just save that, and if I come over here, you won't see any much changes because whatever we did is not affecting our UI. So what I'm going to do is now I can just remove this h1, and now we can actually work on the UI. So over here what I will do is, first of all, I will render an animation wrapper, and this animation wrapper will add a fade in effect to our whole edit profile form. And inside over here I will write a JavaScript condition. I will say loading, which is the loading state. So if it is true, which means we have to show the loading animation, in that case I will render this loader component which is coming from the loading component that we have. So make sure import that as well over here like this. So if the loading state is false, which means you don't have to show the loading animation, in that case right now I will just render an h1 saying this is edit profile page and just save that. And you will see that if we have this loading state by default is true, but I'm not changing it to false when I'm getting the response from the backend. So let's do that over here. Let's just call set loading function and just set it equals to false. And since we are using then block, let's just use the catch block. If we get any sort of error, I'll just console log that error over here. So if I just refresh, you will see that for a split seconds I got the loading animation and then I got this h1. If I refresh it again, you will see for a milliseconds, for some amount of time I got the loading animation and then this h1, which means the loading animation is working. So now we can just remove this h1 and instead we can render the form. So I will render this form over here, and I will render a toaster component also over here, because since it's a form, when we will submit we will do some validation, and if we get any sort of validation error we need to alert the user, and in that case we need this toaster because we are going to use the react hot toast library in order to show the validation error. So that's why I'm importing this, adding this toaster over here. Well, anyway, so inside this form the first thing that I want is an h1 which will just say edit profile, and let me just add some class name to it. I'll say max till medium, which means minimum like screen less than medium screens, it should be hidden, and if it is over medium screen then it will be visible like this. After this, let's make a div, and let's give this div flex property. So actually let's give it a class name. Let's have it a flex box, and the flex will be in flex column direction, and in the larger screen it will be flex row in the flex direction. I will say the item should be in start, and I will say padding should be y units from top and bottom, and the gap will be 8 units, and in the larger screens the gap will be 10 units. So if I save, you won't see any changes because the div is empty. So before making anything else, what I'm going to do is let's just make this side by side to our code so that you can actually see the output in real time. And let me just enable my word wrap over here. Great. So inside this div, the first thing that I want to make is I want to make an editor like the profile image, where we will display the user profile and user can click on it to change the profile image. So for that, I will create a div over here. I'll just give it a class name. I'll say that max dash lg, which means below lg screen it will have a center class which will just align this center, and then I will say that it will have a margin bottom of 5 units. And inside this div I will make a label like this, and this label, well, we will use this label for an input. So let's make that input over here first, and obviously we don't know we want to close it like this, we have to self close this input. So this input will have a type of file so that we can upload anything over here. And then what I want to do is I will give it an id so that I can use for attribute and label to attach this input with this label. So the id I will give is upload image. After this, I will use accept attribute, and this accept attributes just tell what sort of extension you want to accept. So I will just say dot jpeg dot png, and make sure you add comma as well. So dot png dot jpg, like this. And after that, I will just give hidden, which means it will be hidden, it will not be visible. Okay, so after this, let's just work on this label. But before that, let me just give an HTML for attribute to this label in order to attach it with this input. So I will give HTML for, because you can't use for over here because we have for loop for our JavaScript, and you can't use for attribute inside the JSX. That's why you have to use HTML for attribute, and inside it you can just pass the id of the input. And after that, I will give id to this label as well. So I will say profile image label, like this. And let's have some class name, or actually we will add some class name later. But what this label will have, well, it will have a div, and before that div, actually let's create an image which will be the profile image. So I will create an image, and in the source I need to provide the source of the image, the profile image. So well, I don't have access to that right now. Well, I do have, I can just say profile dot personal info dot profile image, and this will give me the profile image as you can see over here. But obviously I'm not going to use profile dot personal info everywhere wherever I have to use profile image or the full name. So I have to destructure this for the better codability and readability. So for that, what I will do is I will add destructure things over here. I will say let, I will destructure later, I will just set it equals to profile. So I am destructuring the keys that I want to access in the React JSX over here. So what are those keys that I want to destructure? So first of all, I will say personal info, and the personal info is an object which contains full name, username, and profile image, like this. And then it also contains email and bio. And what I want to do is I will change this username to profile underscore username, because this username is specific for the logged in username key. So I can't use username over here, because if I use, then two different variable will have a same name, and we can't do that. So after this personal info, I want to destructure the social links, and yes, I only want to destructure these things. So just save that, and let's come over here, and instead of just saying profile dot personal info dot profile image, let's just say profile image. And if I save, well, you won't see any much changes because we didn't do anything else, we just destructured. So let's give a class name to this label. Let's say to have a relative position, and it will have a block display width will be 48 units, height will be 48 units as well, and then I will give a background of gray, and this will have a rounded full class, so it will be a complete circle, and just say overflow hidden. So if there is any sort of overflow, that will be hidden. So if I say this is how it looks now, and if I click on the image, it should open the input box since this image inside this label. So if I click on this image, you will see that a input box like this pop-up is opened from where I can select the JPG files, and I can click on open. It will just open that image, and obviously I'm not seeing that image over here because we didn't code that right now, but we will do it later, so don't worry. So after this image, what I want is I want one div which I will show over here. So whenever I will take my mouse over to the profile image, that div will get shown, and it will be just saying upload image or something like that. So for that, let's just make that div over here, and this div will contain upload image text, and let's just give some class name to it. So I will say width to be full, height to be full, and it will have an absolute position. The top will be 0, the left will be 0 also, and I will say flex so that I can place this text perfectly in center. So I can say item center and justify, actually item center, justify center like this, and then I can say text to be white, background will be PG black, and let's add some opacity. So I will add a 80% of opacity to this black, and by default the opacity of this div will be 0, but when I will hover over this div, the opacity will change to 100 like this, and just set its cursor to pointer, so you will get a hand cursor on this div. So if I just save that, you won't see any much difference right now, but if I just take my mouse over the profile image, you will see now I am getting this black div over here which is just saying upload image, and if I'm just taking my mouse out of the profile image, now I'm not able to see it. But I think this black is very dark right now, so let's just turn this opacity to 30 from 80, and now let's see. Yeah, now it is looking good. So after this, what I want is I want a button which will just say upload image. So what I want is I want the user to upload as many image user want, but it will only get update if the user press the upload image, otherwise it won't get updated. So what I will do here, I will create a button just after this input. So let's create that button, and this will say upload like this. Let's give it some class name. So I will say btn light to have a light button, and I will give a margin top of 5 units, and I will say below larger screen. So for that I will say max dash lg. So below larger screen it will have a center class, and on the larger screen or above that I will say the width will be full, and I will give a padding in x direction to be 10 units, and if I save, I should see a upload button over here. So this is how our profile icon upload system looks. We have this upload image over here, which you can click to upload an image, but it will only update if you click on this upload, otherwise the profile image won't upload. And obviously we don't have we haven't coded that on click events to here, so that's why I can't upload it. So after this, now let's make the input fields where we will display the user details. So let's just come over here, and after this div which is the wrapper of the label, the input and the button, let's create another div, and let's just give it a class width to be full, so it will cover the whole width. And inside this div, what I will do is I will create another div, and this div will have a class grid so that I can use grid, and I will say grid calls 1 to have a 1 column, and I will say above medium screens the grid columns will be 2 like this, and above medium screens the gap will be 5 between the grids. And what I am doing is basically, because I am using the grid, I can now make the full name and the email, both of the input fields side by side in the medium and the larger screens, and below the medium screens I will have both of the inputs come one below each other. So here I will just create a div, and inside this div I'll create an input component which we have inside this input.component.jsx like this. And over here you have to just give the some attributes in order to create the input. So I will say name will be full name like this, and type of this input will be text. Value I want to give over here, the value will be full name, which is we are destructuring from this profile like this. And then I will say the placeholder for this will be full name. So suppose if it is empty, then this placeholder will show. And then I have to add the icon for this input as well. So I don't have that icon right now, so let me just save it and see what I'm getting. So you can see once I have saved, I'm getting this input box, and I can actually click on it in order to change it. But I don't want to change this full name, because I don't want the user to either change the full name or the email. So in order to do that, what I will do is I will say disable, and I will just say true. So it will disable the input box. So if I just save that, and if I click on the input box, you will see that even though I have added this disable attribute, it is still not disabled. And why is that? It is because we are not using the normal input component. We are using this input box, which is the custom component that we have made. So it doesn't have this disable prop, and since it doesn't have that disabled prop, it is not actually disabling this thing. So what we have to do is just open the input box, and over here let's just define that disable prop right here, and just set its by default value to be false. So if we haven't provided this prop value, it will be by default false. And what I want over here is I will just pass this inside this input. I will say the disabled, and this disable equal the value of this disable. Actually, let me type it correctly. So this disable will be equals to this disable, and actually it is giving me red line. Yeah, it should be disabled, not disabled. So just save that, and if I come now, you will see that now this input box is disabled. Even though I'm clicking on it, I can't access it in order to change the value of this input box. So that's great. Now the only thing that I want is I want the icon over here. So what I will do is I will go to my flat icon in order to search for this icon. So in the flat icon, let's search for user in order to find the user. This is the icon that I am going to use. So what I will do is I will just copy this fi-rr-user class, just copy this, and then I now can use the icon at prop over here and just pass that class name over here. And if I just save that, this is how the input box look like. So after this full name input box, let's create another input box which we will make for the email, and that will be also disabled. So what I will going to do is I'll just copy this entire div wrapping this input box and paste it just below, so that it will be inside this grid box, so that we can make both of the inputs side by side in the larger screens, but come one below each other in the smaller screens. And now here in the name I will say just email. The value will be email, and this email is also getting destructured from this profile, as you can see over here. So after this, change the placeholder to email, and if I just save it, you will see this is how it looks. But let's just change the type to email from the text, because it's a email input. And also I need to change this icon. So let's go back to the flat icon, and let's search for email over here. I believe it's envelope. So let's just use this, and just pick the RR one, which is, I guess this one it is. Yeah. So just copy this FIRR envelope and paste it over here, and just save that to see the icon over here. So with this, the full name and the email field is done, and these both of these inputs are disabled, so that user can't change the email, neither the full name. You are only allowed to add these values while creating the account, and then you won't be able to change this. So what I will do is, after this we need an input box for a username to display the username and give the ability to the user to change the username. So just go out of this div where this grid box is, because we don't want it inside the grid, and I will create another input box component over here. The type will be text. Actually put it in the quotes, so that type will be text. Name of this component will be username, like this, and the value for this will be profile username, because we have destructured this profile username from this profile where I'm renaming this username key to profile username. So just pass that as a value, and what I will do is I will give a placeholder. The placeholder will be username. Again, put it in the quotes, not in the brackets. So let me type that correctly, like this. And then I also want an icon over here, so I'll just add icon, but let's just go to the flat icon to search for the icon, and the icon that I am going to use is I guess it is at the rate, so I'll just type at, and yeah, this is the FIRR. Just copy this class name and paste it inside this icon, and if I just save, this is how this input box is looking, and this is not disabled, which means I can easily change the value of this input box, and that exactly I need. So if I just go to the medium screen and larger screen to see how it looks, so you can see this is how it is looking. Well, in the medium screen I'm getting the sidebar over here with the profile icon here, and then below I am getting these input field. But if I go to the larger screen, then all of the input fields or the form will go side by side to the upload image uh, option, like this. So it is pretty responsive, and I don't think so we do have to do anything else. So after this input, let's just add another input, which will be for the bio. And before that, let's add a paragraph, which will be just a simple text. So I will just say username will use to search user and will be visible to all users, something like this, some alert. And let's just style this a bit. So I will say text to be of dark gray color, and it will have a margin top of -3 units. And if I just save, this is how this looks. It's great. So after it, I need one text area for the bio, so I will create a text area over here, like this. And what I will do is I will of course give it a name. The name will be bio, and then the max length over here, I will set a max length to this text area, so that after that length we won't accept any other characters. So what this max length will be, well, I will create a variable which I will call bio limit, and let me just make this bio limit at the top over here. So just make let bio limit equal, and the limit that I'm going to put is maybe 150 characters. So just save that, and after the max length I will say the default value for this will be bio, and this bio is we are getting from the profile state. And then I can say let's add some class name. So I will give some class name. The class name I will give is first input box, which is the custom class, and then I will set its height to 64 units, and on the larger screen I will change that height to 40 units. And I will set resize none, so that I won't get the arrow at the end to drag and drop to resize the text area. And the other thing that I want to change is leading 7, which leading 7 class will change the line height of the text inside the text area. And I will give some margin top as well, so margin top 5, and padding left will be 5 units as well. So if I just save, this is how the text area looks, and it is looking pretty much good to me. And now let's add a placeholder over here, because this is not clear what this text area for. So let's add a placeholder over here, and we will say bio, just to show that here the bio goes. And with this, it is good. Now what I want is I want a paragraph over here, which will show that how much characters you are left before reaching to the max length. So I will say uh, over here, characters left, characters left, and this characters left is a variable which we don't have right now. So let's just create this actually let's create this variable as a state, and we will change that state value well when we will change the text area value. So over here, let's create that state like this, set characters left, and let's just say use state to be a bio limit. So the first of all, the basic the default value of the character left will be the bio limit, which will be the 150. And when we will change when we will change the text area, when we add any sort of value to this, we will update the character left state in order to re-render this paragraph. So what I will going to do is I will going to add a on change event here, on change, and whenever there is a change in this text area, I will call handle character change function, and obviously I don't have that. So let's just copy this name and let me create this after the use effect. So I will create that function over here like this, and over here I will say set characters limit in order to call the set state function. And in the value, what I will say is have the bio limit, and because the bio limit is the maximum number of the in value, maximum length of the text area value, and I need the text area actual value length over here. So I will just add e over here so that I can say e dot target in order to select the text area, and to select the value of that I will say dot value to get the text area value, and to get the length I will say dot length. So e dot target dot value dot length will give you the actual value length of the text area, and the bio limit is the max limit that we can reach. So it will be 150 minus whatever the current value length is. So if I just save that, it will update the characters state, and you can see now I am getting this 150 characters left. And if I just type here anything, this number is also decreasing. So after that, let's give some class name to this paragraph. The first class name that I will give is margin top 1 unit. So it will have 1 unit of margin top, and just change the text to text dark gray like this, and this is how the paragraph looks now. So after this, I will add another paragraph, and this will just say add your social handles below, because after this we will add the input fields for the social handles like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like this. So this will be sort of heading telling what to do next. And let's give it some class name as also. So I will just say margin in y direction will be 6 units, and the text obviously will going to be of dark gray color. If I save, this is how it looks. And after this we will make a 6 input box for 6 social handles. So for that, just make a div over here and give it a class name. I will say on medium screen, and larger than that it will be a grid, and when it will be a grid, it will have a grid columns of 2, so there will be 2 columns. And I will give a gap in x direction to be 6 units, so it will have gap in x direction 6 units. So what I will do inside this div is will be exactly the same thing that we did in the profile page, where we will add looping through our objects key array in order to render different social icons. We will do the same exact thing over here, and we will loop through a social links object keys array, and we will select individual key and render an individual input related to that key. If you don't understand what I'm saying, just be with me and you will get it what I'm trying to say. So just add a curly bracket over here, because we need to write some JavaScript inside it. So what I will say is I will say object dot keys, and object dot keys method will give you an array of keys when you provide the object, and the object that I want to provide inside it is social links. So social links is an object which contains all of your social key and their values. Like it will have a YouTube key with the YouTube URL and Facebook key with the Facebook URL. So it is that object, and a dot key will give you the keys, which means YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and website. Those are the keys. So this object dot keys method will give you an array of those keys, and once you got that array, you can loop through it using map function, and inside it I will just select the key and the index of that key like this. And when I am inside this loop, what I will do is I will say let link equal, and this will be the link. So I will select the social links object, and from that object I will select the particular key. So when you will pass the key over here, it will just give you the exact value of that key from the social link. So if it has any sort of link over there, I will just store that link inside this link variable. And after this, what I will do, I will just return an input box over here. So I will type input box component like this, and we will give a lot of props over here. The first will be key, so that it can differentiate multiple input box according to this mapping. So I will just pass I inside the key, and then the name will be, of course, the this key, which is we are getting from this object dot key. So I'll just pass this key. So this name will be YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, like that. And after that, what I will say is the type will be text, and the value of the input box will be the link. So if the link is empty, the value will be nothing, but if it is something, then the value will be something like that. And then I will give a placeholder, and this placeholder uh, will just basically say https colon slash slash, which means you have to paste the URL inside this placeholder. And I will give a icon over here, but we will do it later. So just save this, and let's see what I'm getting. So if I just scroll down, you will see that since this profile has the website, the GitHub, the Instagram, and the YouTube, that's why I'm getting the YouTube, Instagram, and all those input box. But these two input box are empty because I don't have any sort of links for these two, and it is hard to say what this is because I don't have the icon over here. But this is how our social handle fields are looking. And if I go to my larger screens and medium screen, this is how all the fields are looking. They are coming side by side because in the medium screen and larger screen there is a grid of two columns. So it is looking good. Now the only thing we have to do is we have to add the icons over here so that it is understandable that what sort of thing it is. So what I will do is I will just open my profile. Let me check where it is. So let's go to the profile page, and inside it I am rendering this section, and this section has this about user. So let's open this, and you will see that inside the about.component.jsx we are actually doing the same thing in order to render the links. So in order to render the icons in the profile, we are giving this sort of class name inside the icon. So what I will do is I will just copy this whole I think. So let me just first word wrap this so that I can see it exactly. So what I will do is I will just copy this whole I component, and I'll just save that, and let's go back to the edit page, and I will paste it just right above here. And we will have this for just for reference. So what I will do over here is I will give an icon prop over here, and inside this I have to say what sort of icon I want to give. So what I will do is I will just copy the class name from this fi till this fi globe like this, and just copy this and paste it inside this icon. And I can now just delete this icon from here. So basically what I'm setting is I'm setting this fi in the icon, and then I'm checking for condition. So if the key is website, then I'm giving this class which is fi dash brands. And if it is not like brands dash key, but if it is like website, then I'm setting the class to fi dash rr dash globe. So if I just save that, it should render me all of the icons. As you can see, now I got the YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, and the website icon. And with this, the form is actually done. And if I go in the larger screen, this is how the form is looking. The only thing is missing right now here is the update button. So whenever user click on that update button, the form will get submit and the data will get updated. So let's add that button, and then we will start working on the update functionality using the JavaScript. So just go after this div where the grid is ending, and let's add a button over here, and this button will just say update like this. Let's give some class name to it. I will say the button should be dark in color, and width will be auto, and the padding from extraction will be 10 units like this. And also let's give it a type of submit, so whenever I click on it, it will submit the form. And yeah, So if I just save that, I should get an update button like this. So with this, the form is done. Now let's quickly go step by step and make this form functional. So what I will do first is, first of all, whenever the user upload any sort of image, we will preview that image over here. And then after that, we will click on the upload button in order to upload or update that image. After done with those two things, then we will work on this form where whenever user click on this update, we will make request to the backend in order to update the user profile details. So let's do them step by step. So let's start by previewing the uploaded image first. So for that, what you will do is just go to the input where the file input is, and we will give on change event to this. So whenever there is a change in this input, what I will do is I will call one function which is handle image preview, sort of like this. You can call this function whatever you want. So we don't have that function and we will going to code this right now. So just copy this name, and after the handle character change, what I will do, I will create that function over here like this, and make sure you add e over here so that I can extract the uploaded file from here. So how I can access the file? Well, if I just console.log e.target.files, and if I just open my console like this, let me just remove everything, and if I click on this image and let's upload something. So let me upload this image. You will see that it is logging me something with which has a key file, and that file has all the detail of this file. So what I will do here is, if I just say select the file 0 index, then if I just again open my console and upload any sort of image over here, now you will see that I got actually, let me refresh it, let me upload it again, and now you will see that now I got the file, actual file which was updated. You can upload it, you can see the type, the size, the name and everything. So this is how you can get the information of the file, but instead of just logging it, I will set it equals to image variable like this. And once I get that image, what I want is I want to preview that image over here. So before previewing over here, the first thing that I need is I need a reference of this image. So how I can access that? So for that, I have to create one reference. So let's create that reference over here. I will say let profile image element, and I'll just set it equals to use ref in order to create a reference, and obviously it is giving me error. So let me import use ref over here. So this use ref will create a profile image element reference, and I'll just pass this reference inside this image by using ref attribute. So now we can access this image by calling this profile image element reference. So now I can just inside this function say that select the profile image element which is the reference, and from there I want the actual or the current element. So I will just say dot current, and this will give you the image element. So once I got the image element, then I can say dot src to change its source attribute and just set it equals to image. But if you just set it equals to this image, the actual file you got from the uploader, then it won't actually give you it won't actually display you the image, because this is not a URL of the image, this is actual file. So you have to create a sort of URL of that file, and in order to create a URL of that file, what you need to do is we will use one JavaScript function over here, which will be URL dot create object URL like this. So basically this URL dot create object URL will give you the sort of temporary URL of this image or the file that you are passing while calling this method. So now once you call this, it will give you a source of like a path which you can set it equals to the source in order to display the image. And if I just save that and let's go over here and let's upload a picture. So if I just upload this one, you will see I am able to preview it. So by this the preview is done, but I want to do one more thing, and that is see if I'm uploading over here this is independent and this upload button is independent. So whenever I will click on this upload, I won't be able to know the actual source of this image. So to just keep track of the actual current profile image source, what I will do is I will create one state which will contain the latest image source, so that whenever you will click on the upload, we will just call that we will just select that state in order to get the current URL of the image, and then I will just upload that file to the backend, and from there whenever I will get the link of the AWS, I will just store that in my database. I hope this makes sense. So what I will do is I will create one state over here, and I will call that updated profile image, and set updated profile image, something like this. Make sure the spelling is correct, and I'll just set it equals to use state, and by default it will be null because I don't want by default the updated profile image will be nothing. That's why it will be null. So what I will do is I will just copy this, and I will call this set function over here, and inside this function I will just pass this image file, not the link but the actual image file. So whenever I will upload any sort of image, it will also it will preview it, and also it will set that file in the state. So whenever I click on this upload, I can know what is the current profile image that I have to upload in my AWS server. So if I click over here and let's say upload this picture again, you won't see any much changes over here because this set update profile state won't do any visual changes, but it is just setting the state. So we are actually done with the previewing. Now let's work on the upload button. So whenever we will click on this upload button, this will upload the picture to the AWS. So how this is working is what we will do is whenever you click on this upload, it will upload the current profile image to your AWS database, and from there it will get the link of that uploaded image. And then once it get that URL, what it will do is it will make a request to your server, which is the node server running there, and in that route or in that server we will store that AWS link, and we will update the user profile with that link. And once we are done with it, we will just prompt the user that a profile image is updated, something like that. So we will do those things step by step. So the first thing in this step is of course adding a on click event to this button. So let's add an on click event to this, and whenever this button get clicked, I will call handle image upload function. Let me just copy this so that I can code it right over here like this. So whenever this handle image upload function call, I will just pass e as argument so that I can say e dot prevent default in order to default event in order to prevent the default functionality, which is the submitting of the form. So I'm just doing that, and once I'm done with this, what I will do is I will upload the image to the AWS server. And before doing that, what I will say is if, and then I will access this updated profile image state. And the reason I am checking whether or not we have this updated profile image in my state is by default it is null. So if it is null, which means I haven't uploaded anything in my input in order to change the profile. So that's why it is null. So if it is null, then I don't want the user to click on the upload in order to upload the same image to the database. That's why I'm adding this condition, which will be running only and only if the state is not null and it has something which is new. So inside this function, what I will do is I will create a loading toast which will just say that uploading. So I'll just say let loading toast equal toast dot loading, and I'll just display uploading sort of like this. So if I just save that and click on uploading, you will see that I got a toast saying uploading. It is not doing anything else, it is just showing uploading. And after that, what I want is I want to add a disable class to this button, so that if I click on this and it is taking time, but it is disabled so that user can't submit this form twice or thrice. So for that, I'll just say dot target to select the button, and then I'll just say set attribute in order to set the attribute, and the attribute that I want to set is disabled, and the value of that will be true like this. So once you click on the button, it will get disabled, and once we get the response from the server, then only we will remove this disabled attribute. So after this, what I will say is I will call upload image function, which we have coded inside this AWS .jsx page, which is basically taking your image and uploading it to the AWS server or the database, and from there it is retrieving the URL and returning back to you the image URL that you can actually store in your MongoDB database by making request to the server. So what I will do here is I will just call this upload image promise, and inside it I will just pass this updated profile image state, because this updated profile image state is the actual latest profile image file. So after that, since it's a promise, it will get resolved, and when it will get resolved, I can cache that using that block, and it will return you an URL. So I'll just call it URL. So if I get any sort of URL, I will just console.log that URL over here to see whether or not it is actually working, and I will catch if any errors we get. And if we get any sort of error, for now I will just display this error like this. So just save that and let's expand this so that I can open my console. Let's refresh it everything and let's upload that image. So let me select this image over here and let's click on upload, and you can see now it is saying uploading, and in the console I got one URL where this image is being uploaded. So this image is uploaded. Now what I want is I want to send this URL to my node server in order to update the actual profile image URL in the MongoDB. So let's make the root first, and then once we have the root which will be updating this URL, then we can make the request from the front end to the back end in order to update the URL. So let's work on the server first. So inside the server, just after this get profile, let's make a root. So I will just say server.post, because we will send a URL with this, and the root will be update, let me type it correctly, update profile image, something like this. And whenever we will get a request to this, we will pass it through a middleware, because if the user is not logged in, I don't want to accept any request over here. So I will call verify JWT to verify the access token, and once everything is good, it will run a callback with request and response as a prop. So what I will do is I will first destructure the URL from the response. So I will say let URL that we will send from the front end is equals to request.body. So from the request.body, I am destructuring the URL, and once I have this URL, what I want is I want to select the user from the MongoDB and update the profile image with this URL. So I will say user to access the user collection, and then I will say find one and update, and find one and update will find one document and update it at the same time. So on what condition I want to find the document? So the condition is its ID will be equals to request.user, because request.user is equals to the user ID of the requesting user. So whoever is making the request, it is equals to that ID. And after that, pass another object, and this object will be what sort of field you want to update. So the field that I want to update is personal underscore info. Inside the personal info object, I have profile underscore image, and I want to update this profile image field with the actual URL that I am getting from the front end. And once it is done updating the file, what I will do is I don't need anything over here, so I will just run the callback without any argument, and I'll just say return a response with a status of 200 because everything went well, and return a JSON, and inside the JSON I will say profile image, and the profile image will be the actual URL that I sent from the front end. And if we get any sort of error, just catch that using this catch block, and if we get any sort of error, I will return a response with a status of 500, and I will send a JSON saying error, and the error will be error dot message like this. So if I just save this much is we are done with the update profile image root, where you can make a request with the URL and it will just update the profile image URL. So actually we are done. So now let's go to the front end, and now let's make a request to that post root. So what I will do inside this function is I will delete this console log, and I will say if is there any URL. because if some for some reason I'm not the AWS not able to upload this image, then it will return you an undefined, and in that case we don't want to change the current profile image. So I'm just checking if there is any sort of image. So if we don't have image, we won't make a request, but if it is there is image, then I will make a request. So just say axios.post in order to make a post request, and let's just say import.meta.env.wheat underscore server domain, and this will give you the domain. And the route that I want to make a request is update profile image. Let me just copy this route name because it's too long and I don't want to make mistakes over here. So just paste that, and the data that I want to send is the URL. So just add URL in the bracket, so it will be like URL equal URL, and this URL is just referring to the URL that we are getting from this upload image promise. So you can just do this, and this means exactly the same. Now I have to send the authorization token as well. So add another object, and we will set headers over here, and in the headers I will say authorization and use the template literals over here and say bearer, then dollar, and over here I will access my access token. So I will just say access token like this. So I am able to set the authorization header as well like this. So this will make a valid response, a valid request to the server. So once it's done requesting the server and got the response, I will catch that over here in the then block, and whenever I'll get any sort of data from there, I will destructure the data. And what I will do is I will say let new user auth, because remember, since I am updating the profile image and I have a logged in user, I have to update the logged in user state also, because it has your profile image information in the session. So if I'm updating the profile image, I have to update that profile image from the session as well, otherwise it won't reflect the changes. So that's why I'm creating a new auth variable which will be representing your, actually this is misspelled, I just noticed. So let me type it correctly, a new user auth like this. So this will be referring to your new user auth variable that we will just set it equals to the current user auth. So be with me. So in the brackets, what I will say is, first of all, destructure the user auth variable, like whatever we have in the session, just destructure it over here. And then I will select the profile underscore image from that user auth, and I will just set it equals to data dot profile underscore image, just like this. So now this is the new data that we want to store in the session, and in order to store in the session, we will not actually store this in the session. What we will do is we will update our user auth state, which is the context, user auth context. So we will just update that with this new object. So what I will do is, first of all, I will say store in session in order to store user, and what I want to store in the session with user key is json.stringify, and I will just pass new user auth. So this will store this as in the session, and then once I have set this in the session, I will set this, I will replace this with the current user auth state. So for that, I have to first destructure the set user auth. So I'll just say set user auth over here from the user context, so that I can access the set function of user auth over here, and then I will call that over here, and I will just pass new user auth like this. So this will change the user auth state also. And then what I will do is, since I have this uploaded image state, once I am done uploading everything, I will change back this to null. So I will say set uploaded profile image, and I will change that back to null, and then I will dismiss this toast, which is just saying uploading. So I will just say toast dot dismiss, and I will just pass loading toast over here, and then I will remove the disabled class as well, so that now user can click on the button again. So I will just say dot target dot remove attribute, and make sure you type it correctly, disabled like this. So it will remove the disabled attribute, and then I will just show a toast with a success. So I will say toast dot success, and I will show uploaded like this, and let's add a thumbs up emoji like this also. So this is our then block. So whenever the response is in with the status of 200, we will run this part of code. But for some reason, if I got any sort of error here, I will just catch it over here, and I will, since it will give you the whole Axios. From the whole Axios, I will destructure the response like a response like this. Actually, let me type it correctly. Response like this. And what I will do is I will also let me just copy this last three lines and let's paste it over here. I will dismiss this. I will remove this disabled class, but instead of just showing success roast, I will say error, and instead of this text, I will just render response dot data dot error like this, because in the response I am sending the error if we get any sort of error over here. You can see. So just save that, and with this actually is done. And if I will click on the upload button, it will just update the profile image. So let's see this in action. So if I click on upload image, and let's say from this, now I want to upload the image to this, and I want to update it. So right now it is not uploaded, and that's why you can see here in the navbar I have my old profile icon here, because it is not updated, it's just previewing the image. So if I click on upload now, it is saying uploading, and now it is said uploaded, and now you can see I got this exact image in my navbar, which means I am able to update my user auth state, as well as this image is also updated. So if I just refresh it, and remember, since when I will refresh it, it will make a request to the backend in order to get the actual user information. And if I just refresh it, you will see that I'm still getting this image, which means when it is making a request to the backend and accessing the data, there is this image inside the profile image instead of the last or the previous image. So actually we are done with this upload image, and it is actually working. So with this, now let's work on this update profile form, where whenever you will click on this update button, this will update the values of this, whether it's a username or bio or the social handle. Whenever you will click on the update button, it will update those form fields. So now let's work on this update button. So let's find where this button is, and let's add a click event to it. So whenever we will click on this update button, I will just call handle submit function and just copy this name so that I can make a function over here, right here, make that like this, and add a e as a parameter so that I can just say e dot prevent default, so I can prevent it from form submission. And what I will do is, first of all, I will retrieve all these input box information over here, and we will do the same thing that we did in previous parts. So we will do a form data. We will use JavaScript form data class in order to convert this form into an object, and from there I will destructure all the keys in order to validate. So it's not new. So what I will do is I will create let form equal a new form data, and in order to create the data of the form data, you have to pass the actual form over here, the HTML form. So I have to provide some sort of reference over here. So let's create one more reference over here. So I'll just make a variable. I will call this edit, not edit, yeah, just call it edit profile form equal use ref, sort of like this. So this will be the reference name. So I will just copy this, and I will pass this as a reference for this form. So I will use a reference prop, and I will just paste this name. So now I can access this form using this edit profile form reference. So inside this form data, I can just say edit profile form dot current in order to reference to the form element. So now I got the form. Now what I want is I want to loop through it in order to actually get the key. So for that, first of all, I will make one variable over here. I will call that form data, and I will set it equals to an empty object. Then I will make a for loop, and this will have two values. One will be key and the second will be value, and it will be from. So just add let with two values, two variable key and a value, and I will say of form dot entries. So from this form dot entries, it has to select the key and the value, and this loop will run until this form dot entries doesn't finish. So after it, what I will say is form data over here I will say key equals to value, and after done with that, just console.log the form data so I can see what sort of data I'm getting. And this is not pretty new to you because I have done this so many times in the previous part and this part also, so I'm sure you are not getting any doubt over here. So just save that and let me expand this so that I can open my console. And well, I won't do any changes in my form right now. I will just click on update in order to see what sort of object I am getting. So if I click on update, you will see that I got an object with bio, which is referring to this bio. Then I got Facebook, GitHub, Instagram, Twitter, website, and YouTube, which are referring to these six fields. And also I have username, which is referring to this username. And after that, I'm not getting the email and the name. And actually, I don't really need the email and the name because this user can't change. So since the user can't change, I won't send the email and the full name to the backend in order to update those. So we are not getting it. That's fine because I don't want to update those. So you can see these are the keys that I'm getting. So let's just destructure them over here instead of console login. So I will just say let, and I will destructure username, I will destructure bio, I will destructure YouTube, I will destructure Facebook, then Twitter, then GitHub, and then what we have YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, then we have Instagram, let me type it correctly, then we have a website, and then we have, yeah, we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, we have 8 keys inside this uh, form data. So we are done. Now just set it equals to form data so that we are JavaScript knows from where it has to destructure. So now since I have destructured it, I can close the console because now you know what are the keys I am destructuring. So let me just close this console and let me make this VS Code a little bit bigger. So now what I will do is I will validate the username and bio. I won't validate the YouTube, Facebook links over here. I will just send whatever the user has typed here inside the field to the backend, and I will validate the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter sort of links in the backend, not in the front end. I will just validate these two over here. So I will just say if username dot length is less than 3, which means if I have changed the username and its length is 3, then I will just return a toast with an error saying you must fill or actually just say username should be at least 3 letters long, like this. And then I will check for another condition, which will be bio dot length is greater than bio limit, because I won't check for bio limit is there or not, because this is not compulsory. A user can have a bio or it can not have a bio, it's their choice. But I'm just checking that it should not go over the bio limit, which is 150 characters. So somehow, suppose if the user got in the inspect element and just remove the max length attribute, then this will go over 150. Then this JavaScript condition will work and stop the user from passing 150 characters in the bio. So that's why I'm adding this condition. So if I lie in this condition, I will return a toast like this, toast with an error, and the error that I will say is bio should not be more than, and I will just pass the bio limit. But since I have to use the template literal over here, let me just change the codes to this sign, and now I can access the variable inside the dollar bracket. So I will just say bio limit like this, and if I just save, you won't see any much changes, because if I click on the update, it will just bypass all these conditions. So if I update, it will bypass. So if I just remove my username completely and now click on update, now you will see I got an alert saying username should be at least 3 letters long, because now the username is empty. So which means this button is actually working. So now what I want is I want to send this whole form data to the backend in order to process and update this form, but I don't have any sort of root in my server right now. So what we will do is we will stop right here and we will go to the server in order to code our root inside the backend. And once we are done with that, we will come back over here in the front end, and then we will make a request from here to the backend in order to update the data. So let's go to the server.js and let's code the update route. So let's go to the server.js file, and just after this update profile image root, let's make the update profile root. So I will just say server.post in order to create a post root, and the root we will call it update profile. So whenever we will call whenever there is a request to this root, what I will do is I will run this verify JWT middleware so that only logged in user can access this root, and then if everything went well, I will run this callback with request and response like this. So inside this callback, what I will do is, first of all, I will destructure the items that I'm getting from the front end over here. So I will say username. Let me first put them inside the curly bracket. So I will say username, bio, and social links, social underscore links. So this social underscore links, it will be an object that we will send from the front end to the back end, and this object will contain all these six social link, including YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like all those six inside this object. So we will be not sending the YouTube, Facebook individually. We will be sending them in the object, so that it will be easy for us in order to validate those links. So just destructure it from the request.body like this, and let's first validate the username and the bio. So I will say if username dot length is less than 3, in that case I will return from this callback, and I will return a response with the status of 403 forbidden, and I will return a JSON, and that JSON will basically say error, and that error will be username should be at least 3 letters long, something like this. And then I will check for bio. So I will add another condition saying if bio dot length is greater than, and then I have to say bio limit over here, and I don't have that limit, so I will create the variable over here. I will say let bio limit equal 150, which is equals to the bio limit in the front end. So if it is a greater than the bio limit, in that case I will return from this callback and return a response with a status of 403, and I will just say a JSON. That JSON will contain an error. The error will be bio should not be more than 150, or actually let me use template literals here. So more than bio limit characters, something like this. So with this we have validate our username and bio, and this is exactly the same that we did in the front end. But now how I am going to validate the social links? Well, to validate the social links we will do something different, and what we will do is, first of all, I will make a variable. I will call it social links array, and this social links array will be an array containing all the keys of the social links, which will be YouTube, Facebook. So like it will be an array of YouTube, Facebook, and then Twitter, and then Instagram, sort of like it will be that array. But instead of creating this array manually, what we'll do is we will create that array from this social links. So I will say object dot keys in order to convert or get the keys from the object into an in an object. So I will just call this method, and I will just pass social links over here, and this will give me an array with all the keys like YouTube, Facebook, Insta, Twitter, whatever it has. So once I got that array, what I will do is I will add a try block, because whatever I'm going to do inside this can give me error at any point. So I don't want to end my execution and stop my server. That's why I'm using this try. And since I'm using try, I have to use catch in order to catch if any error I get. So I will catch that error like this. And if I get any sort of error, I will just return a response with a status of 500. And I will just say JSON, and that JSON will contain error, and I will just say you must provide full social links with HTTPS included. because this catch will only run. I'm sending this you must provide full social link with HTTPS included message, because this catch will only run whenever I will get any sort of error, and I will get the error only if the link doesn't has this HTTPS in it. That's why I have written this error inside it, where you can write any sort of text message to display the error. It's up to you. So what I will do in this try block is I will run a for loop. So I will run a for loop like this. I will say let I equal 0, and this for loop should go as long as the social array has a length. So I will say I is less than social links array dot length. So whatever the length of the social link array, I will run this loop till that time, and then I will just say every time just update the I by 1, increment the I by 1. So inside the for loop, what I will say, if social underscore links, and this social underscore links is the social links object which contains the key and the value. So I'm selecting the object, and from that object I will pass this social links array in order to get the actual value of that current key. So what I will say is social links, and inside it I will say social links array, and in the brackets I will say I. So social links array and in the brackets I basically means we are getting the object from the array using the indexing. So if the I is 0, it means select the 0 index item from the array. If it is 1, it is just saying select the first index item from the array. And whatever it is, like suppose it's YouTube, then the social links bracket YouTube basically means give me the value of the YouTube key. I hope that makes sense. So once I get this, then I will say dot length like this to check whether or not I have any sort of length in it. So if I have any sort of length, in that case I will get inside it, because remember, it's not necessary that you should have all the 6 links, but if you have type anything in there, then I will validate it. If you have leave the input box empty, then in that case I won't validate it. But if there is something, then I have to validate. That's why this dot length condition is added over here. Then I will say let host name equal new, and we will type URL, and this new underscore new URL class will is a JavaScript function, and this JavaScript class will convert and give you the URL. So you just have to pass a text over here, and that will give you the URL. And suppose if you have a text of https google.com, something like this, since it's a text, you can't select the host name and the queries from this. So if it has something like q equal car, so suppose if this is a link, which means if this is a link, then this q equal car is the query and this google.com is the host name, right? So this is a text, you can't get the query and the host name from this text. So you have to convert this text into the URL. So you have to pass this text inside the URL class of JavaScript, and then what it will do is it will create this text into an URL, so that you can just say dot host name of this class in order to get the host name, and this host name will give you the google.com. And if you just say queries, then it will give you the queries of this, something like that. So what I'm just doing is, instead of just giving this a plain text, I will pass the value of this social links array. So whatever I have over here, instead of just checking that length, I will say I'll just pass that over here. So if I have anything in my object, then I am giving here basically this. If this is YouTube, then I'm just saying whatever the value of YouTube is, pass that over here. If it is Instagram, then basically I'm saying that whatever the value of Instagram is, just paste this over here. So this will create that URL stream, and once I get that URL, I will get the host name from that text. So I will say host name, and I will select the host name and store that inside this host name variable. So basically, if the text is not a proper URL text, then this URL class will give you error, and it won't be able to destructure the host name from the text. In that case, you won't get the host name. So in that case, which means I will be able to validate that this is not a actual what you can say, actual URL, and then it will give you error, and then you will go inside this catch block, and then since it's not an actual URL, then I'm showing this error saying please give me all the link which with the HTTP included. So I hope now this makes sense. If it doesn't make any sense, just watch this video again, and if you still have doubt, let me know in the comments. I will tell you over there. So anyway, so I'll after that I will add one condition saying if exclamation host name dot includes, and inside this I will say I'll use a temporary literals dollar and curly brackets, and I will say social underscore social links array, like this, social links array, and I will pass the I over here in the indexing, and then I will say .com, and then I will say and social links array of that I is not equals to website. In that case, I will come over here and I will return some error over here. So of course I won't be returning this some error over here. I'll just comment it down so that I can explain you this condition. So what this condition is basically saying, well, this host name is referring to this variable. So if I have a sort of host name, let's say if I have a host name equals to https youtube.com, let's say I have this, then the hostname will be equals to https://youtube.com. In that case, the hostname dot includes will give you, like, this hostname will be this, and dot includes give you the functionality so that you can check whatever you want to check whether or not it is included inside that text. So I'm just checking what I'm just saying social link of that index. So if that index is YouTube, then I'm just saying this basically social links array index of I, just saying if it is YouTube, it will replace YouTube over here. If it is GitHub, it will replace GitHub over here. If it is Instagram, then it will replace Instagram over here. So is just saying the domain of that, like it is YouTube or Instagram, and then I have this .com over here. So basically it is just checking whether or not I have youtube.com in my hostname, or whether or not I have instagram.com in my hostname. So if I do have that in my hostname, then this will be true, and in that case the exclamation will convert it into false, and we will not go inside this condition. But suppose if I am checking for Instagram, but the hostname doesn't have the instagram.com inside it, then this will be false, and in that case this exclamation change the false into true, which means I will be inside this condition where I can throw an error saying the domain is not correct, which means you have provided some other link in the Instagram or YouTube field. And the second condition that I am checking is the social links array is not equals to the website, which means because I have 6 fields, and in those 6 fields I have one for the custom website. So like user can post or have their own website URL over there. So the URL of their website can be anything, right? So in that case I will not be able to validate it using the domain.com sort of thingy. So that's why I'm just giving this, so that if it is a website, then I will just leave it. I won't check it key that it is website.com or whatever. So I hope now this makes sense. So if I am inside this condition, then what I will do is I will return a response with the status of 403 because it's a validation error, and I will send a JSON with error, and the error will be, let me use temporary literals over here. So the error will be social links array I to select that actual, which will be either YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It will be from whatever there is. Then I will say link is invalid. You must enter a full link, sort of like this. So just save that, and this will be able to alert you if there is anything wrong. So with this we are able to validate the social link as well, and let's test this social link and then we will see something else. So what I will do here is I will not send any sort of response in the backend if there is no error. So let's just check whether or not the social link is working. So if I come over here, well, to check it, of course, I have to make a request. So actually we will check it later, so don't worry. Let's move on, because then I have to code the exhaust over here and I don't want to code it because this is incomplete still. So let's just leave it, and let's just update the document over here, and then we will work on that. So what I will do is, after done validating everything, what I will just say is I will create one variable saying update object equals to this object, and this object will be the update object that you will pass inside the find one and update method in order to update the document. So I will say personal underscore info dot username to select the username, so that I can update the username to this username that I am getting from the front end, like this. Then I will say personal underscore info dot bio to select the bio field, and I will just set it equals to bio like this. And then I will just say social underscore links, because in the users object I have the social links, which is the whole object. So I will just replace that whole object over here. So this is the object update object that I will give in order to update the document. So now I just have to find the document and update it. So I will say user in order to access the user collection, and then find one and update in order to find one document and update it. So the query that I want to find with is underscore id will be equals to request.user, and then what I want to update is I want to update the update object. So just pass the update object. Actually, let me make the u lowercase. So this update object is just reflecting this object, and after this I will pass one object, and that object will be run validators true. So basically Mongoose by default don't validate your data while updating the document, but by just setting this run validators equals to true, you are just saying that validate the data before updating it. And the reason I want to validate it is because I want to make sure that the username is still unique, because if it is not unique, then there will be two users with same username, and I don't want that. So that's why I'm using this run validators over here. And then I can just say dot then to catch the response, and if I get a success response, then I will return a response with a status of 200. And in the response, what I will send is I will send this username, because I don't want to access the bio or the social links. But if there is a change in username, then I want to access that username in order to update my user auth state. That's why I will send the username to the front end. And if I get any sort of error that I can get if the username is not unique, then this run validator will run the validations, and the Mongoose will throw an error, because we have already declared that this username field should be unique. So in that case, this catch will run and it will get some sort of error. So over here I will say if error.code is equals to 1100, like this. So basically this 1100 is the error code for duplication error, which means if there is the username which is not unique. So like if I'm trying to get the username which is already exist in my database, then this error will come with this 1100 status code. In that case, I will return a response to the front end with a status of 500, or actually 409, and the JSON that I will send is an error, and the error will be username is already taken, like this. And if it is not the this duplication error, in that case what I will do is I will return a response with a status of 500, because it's internal server error, and I will just send an JSON saying error dot message, like this. So with this the update profile route is done, and now we can actually make a request from the front end in order to update the username, the bio, and the social links. And the social links validations are also done. So now let's make a request from the front end, and let's see whether or not it is updating the data and it is actually checking the social links or not. So let's do that. So over here, after the validation, let's make request to the backend. And to make request to the backend, before doing that, we will do the same thing that we did for this upload button. We will show the loading toast, and we will disable this update button so that the user won't be able to send the data twice and thrice. So I will say let loading toast equal toast dot loading, and the text I will show will be updating, sort of like this. And then I'll say e dot target in order to get the button, target dot set attribute in order to set the attribute, and the attribute that I want to set is disabled, and the value will be true for this attribute. And then what I will do is I will make a request to that route using Axios. So I will say Axios dot post in order to make a post request. Then I will get the domain. So to get the domain, I will use import dot meta dot n dot wait underscore server underscore domain, and then the root. And the root is actually, let me just copy the root over here so that I won't misspell it. So just copy it and paste it like this. So on this route I have to make a post request. So now I have to declare what sort of data I want to send with this. So the data that I want to send is username, bio. So you can just say username and then comma then bio, because username will be equals to this username, bio will be equals to this bio name. But now instead of just saying YouTube, Facebook, Twitter like this, what I will say is I will say social links, and this social links will be the key which we are destructuring in the server, and this will be equals to an object, and this object will contain this 6 keys. So I'll just say YouTube, let me type it correctly, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, Instagram, website, like this. So if I just save it, make sure you correct the spellings. So now you will see that all of them are white in color, which means we have provided all the 6 variables over here. So this is the data that I'm going to send to my update profile route. So once I have sent this, and actually I also need to set the headers, so just add comma and then provide one curly brackets to set an headers. So in this headers I will just make the authorization, and then I will say bearer. In the column brackets I will say access token. So this will send the access token in the headers along with the request. So once the response get resolved and we get a data response from the backend, then I will destructure the data from there. So I will say data like this, and inside this callback what I will do is I will check if user auth, well, this user auth state is referring to the current user auth context, which contains the username, full name, and profile image of the logged in user along with the access token. So what I want to check is whatever the username I am getting from the backend is equals to the stored username in the session or not. So if the stored username in the session and the username that I'm getting from the backend is different, that means the user has updated its username, and in that case I have to update the session and the user auth context both. So for that I'm writing this condition. So I will say user auth dot username to select the username from the user auth state. I will say if it is not equals to data dot username. So this data has this username key if we get a success response from the backend. So if I get inside this condition, in that case I have to update this user auth state, which is the context, and I have to store this new username in the session as well. So I will say let new user auth equal curly bracket, and I will destructure the user auth context over here, and then I will say username equals to username equals to data dot username like this, and then I will say store in session. In order to store this new user auth in the session, I will call this store in session function, and I want to store user, and the data that I want to store with this user is json.stringify to stringify this new user auth object like this. And I also want to update my user auth state. So to update it, I have to call set user auth function, and then inside it I can just pass the new user auth in order to update the user. So this will update the username in the session as well as in the user context. So after done with this, what I want is basically I just want to dismiss this loading toast and remove this disabled class, and I just want to show the success alert. So let's do those things. So I will just say toast dot dismiss in order to dismiss the loading toast like this, and then I'll just say dot target dot remove attribute, and what attribute I want to remove is disabled. Make sure you type it correctly, and then I will just show a success toast. So I'll just say toast dot success, and I will say profile updated, something like this. And since it's a then, I will use a catch block. So if we get any sort of error, we will go inside this, but instead of just saying error over here, if we get any sort of error, we get exhaust instead of a response. So from that exhaust, I want to destructure that the response, and once I got the response, I will do the same thing over here. So just copy these three lines and paste over here, but instead of showing the success, I will show error, and instead of saying profile updated, I will say response.data.error like this, and I will save it. So with this, our handle submit function is also done. So now let's see it actually it is working or not. So how I can check it? So the first thing that I will check is whether or not this social validation is working or not. So what I will do is, you see, since it's an Instagram, what I will do is I will just type Facebook inside this Instagram. So basically this facebook.com is not the correct URL for the Instagram domain, right? So if I just click on update, this should give me, yeah, you can see it is giving me error saying Instagram link is invalid, you must enter a full link, which means it is incorrect. And what if I just remove everything and I'll say the modern web, which is my Instagram handle, but it is not a proper URL. So in that case, if I update, I'm getting still one error saying you must provide full social link with HTTPS included, because it's know that this is text now, this is not the actual link. And if it is just blank, then this won't give you any error, and it will just say profile updated. So right now, if I just go to my profile, you will see that in the about, I don't have any bio. That's why I'm getting this nothing to read here. So let's add some bio over here to see whether or not the update is working. So let's go to settings, and in the bio, I will say some example text for bio over here, whatever you want to type it, and I'll just click on update, and I got profile update, and actually the spelling of profile is wrong, so let me correct that over here like this. Okay, so if I just now go to my profile and let's go to the about, now you will see that instead of getting the nothing to read here, I got some example text. Actually I misspelled the text over here also, so a text for bio over here, which means updating is working. And you will see the username for this user is Kunal only. So if I just go to my settings, and let's say I want to have 123 at the end and my username, I can click on the update and it will update it. So now if I go to my profile, you will see that I got the 123 username. And if I go to my settings, and now let's check whether or not it is checking for the duplication of username. So I already have a user with Kunal 438. So if I press update, it should give me error saying this is username already taken. So if I click on a username, you can see I got username is already taken. So this is preventing me from making a duplication in my Mongo database. So with this, our edit profile form is also done. So that's it for today. I know this video got delayed, but no worries. I will upload the next part within a week, where we'll be completing our website with the blog management system and notification page. And at the end, we will host the website on Vercel and render for free. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.